Luna notices that her childhood friend is starting to pay too much attention to her. He comes to her house every day, gives her gifts, compliments. He has a fiancée, but he distances himself from her and hints at a relationship with his girlfriend. To save their relationship, the moon proposes a fictitious marriage to the first person she meets. But the girl couldn't imagine that she would truly love him. A couple of days before that, Luna was born into the family of Baron Pels. Everyone knows them as a very poor family. There are constant problems with lighting throughout the house, so it's easy to trip and fall. Despite all this, thanks to sensitive parents and kind maids, even without money, her childhood was spent in the best possible way. But the carefree and happy life did not last long. Big changes took place. When she first came out in color, she faced criticism from aristocrats who discussed her from head to toe. They didn't like her old dress, her manners, and then they started hinting that she was very far from their level. One aristocrat found out that Luna was possessed by her childhood friend, Duke Rodrian, and began spreading rumors about it. From every corner, one could hear mockery that the girl would never save her family's situation at the expense of others. Aristocrats united against the Baron's family. Fires began to appear in their house without reason. The only carriage became unusable. The horse was poisoned by poisonous plants. Unfortunate events happened one after another, and the moon endured because it did not want to make things worse. She gave up, locked herself in her room. She doesn't even have the strength to think about why this world is so unfair to their family. Then she notices that she is not alone in the room and reminds that she asked not to be disturbed. Lola apologized and said that a very strange letter had arrived, so she couldn't resist and brought it as soon as she found it. This letter smells terrible. It is untidy. It is immediately obvious that there can be no pleasant words in it. Luna opens it with trembling hands and sees that it is written in blood. "I warn you, Luna Police, if you don't get off the parson, I will destroy you." The girl was so shocked that a forgotten memory came to mind. She, Luna Pels, is blindly obsessed with her childhood friend, the novel's protagonist, Parson Rodrian, and will die as a secondary character without saying a word. At first, it was unclear how one could forget something like that, but still she was reborn as a villain, a secondary heroine of the novel. Meanwhile, she was with those girls yesterday, but the moon doesn't listen to them. She's all in her thoughts and doesn't even look in her direction. Now she understands why her family was so controlled and not given a chance to squeeze into high society. Was Sarah Gran? The real Moon Pales envied the main character of the novel and the girl Persen. These girls cared so much about Sarah that they even destroyed the main villain, the moon, disguising it as an accidental death, just so that she couldn't interfere with the relationship between Sarah and Persen. These three came to her to agree that the moon would not dare to stand in their way. But when they noticed that the girl wasn't even listening to them, they started to get indignant and threatened to solve the problem differently. Luna came back to reality in time, calmly took her cup of tea and asked to let me clarify the situation. She said that she was not interested in the Duke and had not liked him for a long time because of their bad relationship in childhood. At first, no one believed these words. One of them asked to prove that it was so. The moon called the Duke a nobody, but instead of believing it, their chief threatened to tell him everything verbatim. The girl doesn't understand what they want from her. She already said what they want to hear, but everything only got worse. There was no choice. Luna got up from the sofa and asked to tell him at the same time that instead of meeting with him, it's better to be a ruthless madman feared by the entire imperial elite. With Ante's Vincent, everyone trembled at the mere name of this man. Now they have no doubt that she doesn't need Persen. The girl left them and loudly asked Lola to clean up after the guests, hinting that they were about to leave. Then she wished them a good journey, and these three were outraged. They had never been driven away like that before. Luna goes up to the second floor to her room, and they tell her how arrogant she is and how incapable she is of seeing off guests. She opens the door aggressively. Her mood immediately changed because now she doesn't have to pretend that everything is okay. Even though she showed that she wasn't interested in that guy, she had a feeling that it wasn't enough and she needed to take extreme measures. She found a small piece of paper, a pen, decided to write a letter to him personally, and it would be very good if its contents were read not only by Duke Persen, "To my dear person who should no longer be in my life. If you don't want to be considered a bad person, forget everything that happened between us. You and I are now nothing to each other, Moon." Not even a day has passed. The Duke receives her letter, clutches his head, and does not believe that she wrote it. The moon slept very restlessly all night. got up early in the morning, and wants to believe that now there will be no visits to her. They are completely different from Sarah in the novel. If there is a beloved main character, then there will be a villain that everyone hates for no reason. She doesn't think about anything. She goes down to breakfast, doesn't notice anything, when suddenly, a very familiar silhouette of a guy. It even seemed to her that she was just thinking about him too much, and he was already imagining things to her. Luna rubbed her eyes, pinched herself a couple of times, but this man doesn't disappear anywhere. He smiles at her as if he received an invitation to tea. She just can't believe her eyes. Her legs are shaking, because if those girls suddenly come now and see them together, she can consider it the end. She asked why he came, because in the letter everything was clearly stated. There was not a single word about him appearing here. Persen laughed. He took the letter as a joke, and a very pleasant reminder of how they used to love to play pranks on each other. Since then, the girl began to hide from him, even in her own house. She sat in the bushes, was afraid to even breathe. And he came to her more and more often, did not take her words seriously, and did not understand what was happening. Luna is already tired of running away from him all over the palace, and he thinks that she just fell in love with hide and seek and wants to remember her childhood. The smile never leaves his face, but for her, it's the other way around. The girl is very irritated and doesn't know what to do anymore. He doesn't leave her alone. He stalks her and all this in front of her parents, who already suspect something. Baron Pels wanted to talk to her, looked all over the house and wasn't even surprised to see his daughter with this guy. He appears here so often and even started calling him dad. The girl's eyes started twitching from these words. When she sees that they communicate better and better, even if only jokingly, but call each other father and son, she feels uneasy. And then she accidentally heard that they were already agreeing to cooperate, and it seemed like Persen was leaving with her father for his work. The guy knows they have money problems, so he offers the Baron a job and promises they will come back together today. This is all I need. Now this person will be in their house more often, and this is very bad. The girl asked Lola to prepare another place for dinner because they will have a special guest tonight. It's time for dinner. They are already sitting in their seats, but one seat is still free. The Duke and the Baron are having a very nice conversation, but the moon can't watch it calmly. She tries not to pay attention to them, when suddenly Persen begins to hint that they are so cozy here that they don't want to go home, and it's so late. The girl didn't even have time to say anything before they noticed the empty seat, and she didn't say that anyone would join. Just at that moment, Lola comes to say that a guest has arrived. No one understands what is happening. The Duke even got up from his seat, and the moon went to meet the secret guest. She only hinted that the guy would be glad to see her, and smiled as if everything would be exactly the opposite. He looks at the door very carefully, waiting for someone to appear there. He is nervous. And then Lady Sarah comes in, with whom he is destined to be according to the plot of the novel. The girl recognizes him and is a little embarrassed. Luna specially made it so that Sarah's place was next to the Duke's place, but she didn't take one thing into account. She is allergic to most of the ingredients and was unable to try the main dish. There is no denying that Sarah is truly amazing. Luna will never understand how she could love someone like Persen. If she wasn't the main character with an angelic personality, the guy probably wouldn't have had a happy ending. Persen, as usual, ruined everything. Luna was counting on him as a noble duke to escort Sarah home and not spend the night with them, but he doesn't think about it. He said that he was already very tired and wanted to lie down in a soft bed as soon as possible. He even asked Lola to prepare a room for him. The girl is outraged. How can he act so brazenly? How can he send a lady alone on this dark night? She immediately spoke to him about it, and he replied that the lady had arrived with servants and knights anyway. But if the moon was so worried about it, then he offered to take the Sarah and return. The lady can't stand it. She feels that she's only causing inconvenience to everyone. She gets up and starts running away without saying goodbye. She feels very awkward, ashamed. She doesn't want to be a problem for anyone. And on top of that, she's still hungry. The moon felt very ashamed. She ran out after her, asked her to wait. And Sarah got so angry that she didn't even listen to her. She just wants to get out of here as soon as possible. She ran to the carriage. Her friends were calming her down, and the moon no longer knew what to say so as not to make things worse. I had to apologize for today's incident. She explained that she didn't know it would turn out like this. Sarah didn't remain silent this time. She said that when she received an invitation from her, her friends warned her that Luna would never invite with good intentions, and they were right. Everyone knows how the lady would like to become the Duke's girlfriend, and today Sarah was convinced that they were simply trying to stop her. She started throwing money at the moon, asked not to interfere in their relationship, and if necessary, she was ready to pay any amount for it. That's how it turns out. The girl wanted to bring them closer, but it turned out exactly the opposite, and she herself was left to blame. Sarah asked to take this money and disappear from the life of Persen and her, but she does not understand that the whole problem is precisely in her lover. He had just caught up with them. The guy didn't apologize to Sarah, he just came so as not to stay at the table. Seeing how he was more worried about the moon, Sarah felt terrible. At this point, the girl's patience ran out. She ordered them to leave immediately so that she would never see them here again. Since no one understood the hints, she just said that they had no place in her life and that it would be better if they both forgot about her existence. She doesn't care about money, she steps on it with her feet. She's already tired of thinking about others. Now everything will be different. Person still doesn't understand that she's not joking. He's worried that they'll stop communicating, although Luna only dreams about it. Because of him, she only has problems. Some time passed. The moon let go of all her problems, got into the carriage and went on a long journey. It just so happens that the weather's very nice today. She enjoys looking out the window and admiring the beautiful view. It's been a long time since she's been away anywhere, but this isn't a vacation, more like a business trip, which she's been preparing for a long time. Their family has only a title, but in reality, she is always busy with chores, that she does not even have free time to travel. And for this, you always need money, a lot of money. She doesn't want to live in poverty anymore. She wants to change everything. That's why she took this document with her. He will give her the right to acquire part of the territories of the Pales. Not long ago, without her father's knowledge, she acquired part of the estate in her own name. In the place she chose, there are rocky mountains everywhere, so you can live there even on little money. From the outside, the place looks like a useless territory, but there is a secret that few people know about, and that is gold mines. She already has a lot of plans. She holds this document as tightly as she can because it is the key to her happy future. If everything was like in the original story, they wouldn't even know that there was a gold mine on their territory and would live in poverty their whole lives. But as long as she has this information, that won't happen. Luna had already arrived, got out of the carriage and started looking for a person who would help her with the mercenaries. The girl began to approach people. Suddenly she would get lucky and someone would be able to lead her to the mercenary commander. In this place, they look at her like she's a child, throw up their hands and ask her to come here with her parents. Since he was rude to her, she also replied that judging by their attitude towards clients, it is not surprising that their company has not developed in all these years. The moon has no other choice. She explained that she can give her a lot of money for a good job, and if they see her as a child, they will lose a huge income. Hearing about the money, he took her where she needed to go, to the office of the captain she was looking for. The moon is ready for a serious conversation. She should hire at least someone, and half of the plan will already be completed. She was met by a very nice guy. He is not at all the nice man she imagined him to be. In order not to waste time, she immediately said that she needed mercenaries who would accompany her to the territory of the Palace estate. There was work for them there. But there is one condition that he might not like. She would like to postpone the payment for this service, to which he said that they don't know each other well, and she is already asking him about such a thing. This guy also said that she has a rich lover, the Duke, who could easily pay for everything. Luna replied that she never expected to hear such a thing from a person she was seeing for the first time. I had to explain that this is not so, that she hates this man and cannot get rid of him. And he, as luck would have it, tries to be present in her life. The guy says that he believes her. She is happy and repeats that she wants him to disappear from her sight for the rest of her life. In the end, he agrees to help her. And he also looked at her with very kind eyes because he felt that she was a good person. Luna follows him to meet the mercenaries. She doesn't know how many there are or how good they are, but there are no other options. They enter some room and the commander begins to introduce the moon as their temporary boss. He says that the top of Antares will not disappoint her, and then the girl understands. That I heard right. This place is connected with the crazy madman, Antares, and she just recently told the villains that it was better to be with him than with the Duke, and now fate brought them together. Antrese's Apex, a place sponsored by Antes Vincent, the novel's most brutal villain. The name was invented in honor of Antes. There are rumors that he took bribes, so people treat him very badly. The girl doesn't believe that she came to such a place, but just wanted to find mercenaries. He also says that she can feel at home here. It doesn't sound very good. 3 hours later, they are already celebrating their collaboration, and Luna is trying not to show how uncomfortable she is here. Antes and his entire team accepted the girl so well that she is already talking about her personal life, and they support her. The guy noticed her looking at him and jokingly asked if she had fallen in love with him at first sight. He embarrassed her so much that the moon began to make excuses and even accidentally said that he was not her type. It was very awkward, so she changed the subject and admitted that she was wondering about something. He allowed her to ask whatever she wanted and promised to answer any question. Luna doesn't understand why he talks to her normally, although she is here on business and wanted everything to be the other way around. The guy was upset. He didn't expect to hear this from her, especially at such a good moment when everything was wonderful. I had to explain that he was not used to formal speech and did not know how to communicate properly. So he suggested leaving everything as is, if of course it would be comfortable for her. For this, he offered to fulfill any of her requests, and this already sounds tempting. Luna didn't give in. His behavior is very suspicious and she doesn't like it at all. She asked him to talk properly because they were not friends and this was their first meeting. But he proved persistent and began to offer a guarantee from the top of Antres so that she could trust him with a clear conscience. He literally offers her to give the Emperor's assurance. This is literally an expensive insurance that the Imperial Palace envies. This insurance is provided in case something unfair happens to the witness. They say the Imperial family personally compensates for all damages. Luna doesn't understand why he's doing this and asks him to explain right now what benefit he gets from this. He said it was very simple. He just wanted to continue talking to her informally. At this time, the Duchy of Rodrian pales, looks out of her window, cannot find a place for himself. He worries about what she's doing outside the house for so long. He's upset that she doesn't tell him anything. The only thing that calms him down is that she has a little money, so she should be back soon. Less than half an hour has passed. He is already asking to prepare a carriage. He wants to leave right now. The guy is already on his way. He sits and nervously thinks about how the girl has recently become too rude to him and constantly tries to run away. They used to be very close, but now he feels like they are drifting further and further apart every day. Meanwhile, the rocky area of the palace estate, the moon is happy because this is the place she needed. Antes didn't understand what she was going to do here. He joked that maybe she just needed to collect a couple of quality stones and then she would just leave. She told him that it wasn't funny and that she had much bigger plans than he could imagine. To begin with, she's going to remove one mountain and get to what's underneath it. The work is in full swing. There are already the first results. The mercenaries have never seen huge pieces of gold with their own eyes before. They dug up a whole gold mine. Everything here is covered in gold, a sight to behold. The commander looked at the gold with his professional eye and said that he had never seen such processed and clean stones. This was clearly the highest grade. And now she asked for a little attention and said that since this trip was supported by the royal family, she wanted to believe that there would be no problem keeping what she saw a secret. And also, for good work, the moon promised not only the main reward, but also bonuses. Then asked them to hurry up and work harder to finish it all quickly and come back before midnight. And in the meantime, he again offered her a very tempting deal. She gives him everything they find here, and he will give her 3 times more. Luna doesn't quite understand what benefit this is for him. It's all very tempting, but there must be some catch. The girl looks at him and tries to remember that making a deal with him is like arbitrarily climbing into the tiger's mouth. In the end, she agrees, but with one condition, which they will discuss a little later. Rodrian's estate, Sarah unexpectedly came to them. She wanted to make peace, but learned that the Duke had left the estate and no one knew when to expect him back. The girl wants to believe that these things are not related to the moon. Otherwise, this will be the last time she tries to fix something. The assistant thought that the situation needed to be corrected urgently. He deceived her and said that this time the matter had nothing to do with the lady, so Sarah could rest easy. The guest calmed down, and the man grabbed his head and thought that at this rate he would hardly live to see retirement. Antes and Luna discussed the nuances of the agreement, go over all the points and asked not to disturb them. It's time to discuss payment. He is an understanding person. So taking into account her conditions, I lowered the price, but the girl saw the amount and it was still too much. She pretended that everything was fine, didn't react at all, as if she was confident that she would have the opportunity to give him so much money. After that, they discussed all the conditions again. First, to buy gold only at the highest price on the market. Secondly, the labor force for mining will be provided by the Antares, and their competence and skills are guaranteed. And lastly, payment in advance. He gave her money for her cooperation, as he promised. This should be just enough to get going and feel calm. They didn't sit for long. The moon had already left, and the guy was upset. He wanted to offer her to stay, but he couldn't. The mercenaries waited until the commander was free and began asking how he agreed to such a big deal, and even gave away the carriage, since it was not profitable for them. To which he replied that everything was very simple. The girl was now one of the significant owners of the gold mine, and they needed to show themselves from a good side. All this time, he was interested to observe how, contrary to rumors, she turned out to be very thorough and judicious, and, although very calculating, not to say that she was insensitive. He immediately noticed how she knew very well how to win people over. She even looked more like a thoughtful merchant than an aristocrat. He just wants to maintain a good relationship with her for the long term, because he sees that she knows what she's doing. And now he could even admit to himself that he was interested in her, not just as a partner, but as a girl. Meanwhile, Persen felt like he had arrived where he needed to, but he was a little late. He sits on the chair and acts as if he is owed something here, and Anis is not surprised because only he could come without an invitation. The guy replied that he didn't come because he wanted to. He was looking for the moon, and he was sure it was here. Ante started to joke with him, but the Duke couldn't hold back, shouted at him and ordered him to immediately tell where the moon was. They have started a very serious conflict, a little more, and it will come to a real battle. Antes is not afraid to ask how a guy can consider a lady his property, because he is not her husband, and anyone who wants can communicate with her and with whomever she wants. And finally, he added that the moon complained how tired she was of him and that she simply hated him. He was so pleased to talk about it, but at the same time, it was very unpleasant to see this person in front of him. Persen can't tell where he's welcome and where he's not. He acts like he's at home everywhere and thinks that everyone owes him something. Finishing off, Ante said that they had a frank, heart-to-heart talk with her and became more than just friends. The Duke doesn't believe it. He starts to get angry and can no longer control himself. His eyes are filled with hatred, and if they weren't at Antes' house, he would have hit him long ago. The guy said a few more words and then the Duke's patience ran out. He takes out his sword and can no longer hold back. He warns that one more word and there will be one less cute guy in this world. Antes calmed him down very quickly, took the sword from him and asked who gave him permission to wave it in his house. Persen greatly overestimated himself. He thought he would scare the enemy, but everything turned out the opposite. He even ran away in fear and said something like that he would come back and show who the moon would be with. Meanwhile, the girl is already calmly strolling along the most expensive and beautiful streets of the city. She begins to enjoy life and is already planning to buy herself a new one. Suddenly, some girl comes up to her and says that the general ordered her to guard the lady, so now she will always be there, and you can also ask her for something. The moon wasn't too upset. She just needed a person who would carry bags of clothes. She passes by the best shop windows. Out of habit, she misses the most beautiful ones. And at some point, she stops and remembers that she can afford whatever she wants, even 10 such stores. She was not recognized for a long time because of her appearance, so she started changing her life with her wardrobe. The assistant helped me find the most expensive boutique in the capital. It is huge and has several floors. Everything here is very luxurious. At first, she felt awkward, but then she got used to it. Consultants don't notice her. They are used to the fact that rarely anyone comes to them, and this is for the best. She has time to get used to the environment, look at the selection, and understand what she likes. Everything was fine, but until one moment, the same girls she already knew came into the store. They start laughing. The girl didn't mix up the address because everything here is very expensive and she won't be able to afford it. They became interested to see what she would choose, and the moon specially approached the most expensive dress so that they would all be envious. It got to the point that they had already argued whether she would be able to buy what she had chosen. Otherwise, she would have to serve them for a whole month. Luna asked the consultant to bring all the most expensive things they have, and they choked on their tea. They couldn't believe their ears. This didn't sound like a joke. The girl was really ready to buy something here. She even chose not one, but several dresses for herself and happily went to the fitting room. She liked to look at these looks. These three already began to think that she was deceiving them and could have colluded with the sellers. After some time, they find out that she is the owner of a gold mine, and they go crazy. They say that even lies must have a limit. The moon is ready to provide all the evidence, and after these words, one of them simply could not control herself. It was very funny, and in the meantime, the girl had already bought herself 2 dresses and was ready to make a wish, if of course they are responsible for their words. Her wish is very simple, just to get home from this boutique. But they can't use a carriage or anyone's help. They have to walk on their own, even if it starts raining heavily. One of them is indignant. She imagines how much time it will take, especially since they are very tired. The moon laughed and said that she felt sorry for them, because if they had made a wish, it would have been much more complicated. But if someone doesn't like the wish, there is a second option. They will be her personal servants for a whole year. Those 3 ran out of the store. They couldn't stand being around her for a minute. Evening has come. Luna returns home and looks for Lola to organize some light dinner for her. But her father did everything. He asked how her trip went and didn't say a word so that next time she would at least warn about it. He showed concern. It was very nice, as always. He knows how to create a good mood. Out of the blue, Luna asks him to sleep with her and work and says that now their family will never need money, that they would not work another day. The man thought that she was very tired and did not understand what she was saying. The daughter says that he understood her correctly. He didn't hear right. Now a luxurious life is guaranteed right from this day. Father doesn't understand what she's talking about. It's impossible for someone to get rich overnight. Her words sounded too fabulous. She told him that this is what happened. She got rich overnight and reminded him of the lands that they bought from him. It's time to tell that she was that buyer and that today she discovered gold ore right in that place. Luna sees that he doesn't quite understand what this means. So she explains that if he actively mines for a while, then in the future, this place will bring great profits. The man can't believe his eyes. She looks at him, barely holding back tears. He blamed himself all his life for not providing for her as he would have liked and not reaching a point where she would not have to think about earning money. And what she answered, that what she is now, it's all thanks to him because she always had the most important thing, his love, and that is more valuable than any money. Now she has only one request, to which he said that if he can help, he will do everything that is necessary. His daughter wants him to become the manager of this gold mine because she knows how he always dreamed of running his own business. They held hands and could not believe that now together they would be able to defend the name of their family. Of course, the father agreed because it was his dream, but he still doesn't fully realize that their life will never be the same again. The moon was in a hurry for dinner. She destroyed the entire huge portion in a matter of seconds. It was incredible. She loves her chef's food, and a woman is always very happy. She loves when her work is noticed and praised. Meanwhile, the next day came. The moon did not even have time to get out of bed as she saw a familiar carriage. She went down to the first floor very quickly, thinking to see her father, but it wasn't him. Aunties came to her, not knowing how the girl had recently begun to hate uninvited guests. She thought he would be busy with the gold mines, which is exactly why he came. The guy says there is something that definitely needs to be added to the contract and suggested looking into it. The moon invited him to come into the house. They walk in silence, not even looking back at each other. He intrigued her a lot, and also she is very confused by the fact that some assistants look at them as a couple. He also dressed up as if he was going on a date, a luxurious brooch, a suit, shoes, he even styled his hair. It's unlikely that he's getting ready for a meeting with other business partners. She even feels awkward looking in his direction. He is so cute that she is afraid to look at him again. Last time he noticed it right away, and it was terribly awkward. Suddenly, Aunties told how her childhood friend came to him and how much he wanted to know if there was something between them. The moon was very surprised. She became scared that that person was trying to control her every step, as if he wanted to show his intentions. And Aunties hints that if necessary, he can deal with him, and that Duke will no longer bother her. He wants to do it because he likes her, and the moon thinks she misheard it. The servants watched this scene quietly, as if they were in a movie theater. Aunties fell in love with Luna when he saw how much she hated Persen and how she tried to avoid him. And also, when she came to them herself, she was not frightened by dozens of people who were older than her. At the same time, she is also quite calculating and always defended her share. He thought that an aristocrat should not be like that, but that's what he likes. He sees her as special and attractive, and still hasn't said that this is some kind of joke to ruin everything. Luna hadn't heard such compliments for a long time. She clenched her hands into fists and asked him to stop because she was very embarrassed. Ante's had just started. He wanted to say something else, but he listened to her and stopped. The girl turns around and runs away from him. She feels very awkward, although she could have thanked him for such words. Meanwhile, the Baron is getting used to his new life. All his thoughts are in work. When suddenly the Duke bursts in, shouts throughout the house that they have big problems, and asks if he knows what happened to his daughter. He is completely mad. He reports that when the girl was away from home, she met a bad man and became very close to him. The guy talks as if he is making her father guilty, throws up his hands, gets indignant, although these are only his problems. Sen asks him to do something about it, but the Baron is calm and asks the guy the same thing. He said that if his daughter communicates with someone, then it is her choice. The Duke is no longer himself. He considers that person a deceiver. Then he suggested that it was Ante's who was forcing her to leave home. The father became tense. The Duke continued that not only was Ante's pursuing her, but now he was mocking her, and he had no evidence of this. Meanwhile, Luna invited her partner for tea, thinking they would discuss business. But he looks at her so intently that she even feels awkward. She looks away and is afraid that her face might turn red. There was a short pause when suddenly he asked her a very serious question. What about starting dating, becoming boyfriend and girlfriend? Luna didn't quite understand what this meant. She looked at him and didn't realize what he was saying. She had never met such straightforward people before. She even got angry and yelled at him. Antes apologized if it was too unexpected. He thought about it a lot, especially since this way she wouldn't have to hide from Sen. The girl didn't have time to notice how they came to this. She looks around and tries to understand whether she needs it or not. Her thoughts are mixed up. She is confused. Her heart tells her to agree, but her mind tells her to think and not to rush. She replied that she didn't need it and looked at him with an aggressive gaze. And then she explained that people like him, if they want something, they try to achieve it with their pretty face. But in a relationship, everything should be different. The girl doesn't feel that this is her man. She doesn't like it when guys love themselves too much and don't know what rejection is. Antes reacted normally. He said that he really liked her, and when she was ready to agree, his offer would stand. He didn't put pressure on her, and she thinks, what's the catch? He couldn't have fallen in love with her so quickly. Luna heard some sounds from the street, checked and saw that someone had arrived. She said it was her father, asked to talk later because she needed to go down, and also it would be desirable to introduce him to her father. Before that, she asked him for one request. When they go down to the first floor, he should be silent and not say anything unnecessary. The guy promised that he would be polite to the Baron and she would not be ashamed of him. Then asked if this would affect her decision. The moon got angry and asked not to talk about it. As usual, the assistants listened to everything, understood everything incorrectly, which means that the Baron will find out about it very soon. They presented these two as husband and wife. They came up with something that never happened and never will happen, and that's very bad. They went outside, met the father. The daughter asked how the road was, but the man didn't think that she would come out to meet him. He is pleasantly surprised, says that he missed me very much, and for now, the guy has not noticed. Sen is already watching all this. He is angry that she left and did not warn him about it. He immediately ran out to them. The girl got scared and didn't understand what he was doing there. The guy tried to hide how angry he was with her, pretended to be glad that she was okay. Literally a second later, he takes off his kind mask and calls Antes a liar, and even called him a moon guy. Antes is very happy to hear this. He smiled, and Luna is confused as to what is going on here. The guy took advantage of the opportunity and introduced himself to her father as the eldest son of Duke Vincent, Ante Vincent. He said he was sorry he came here when he was away. Then he told about himself that he is the owner of the Antris Alliance and that they help Lady Pals with the gold mining business. He would like to get along with the gentleman. At first, the man did not understand anything, but then he smiled and responded very well, which made everyone happy except the Duke. Person didn't understand what she was talking about, what gold and the moon business had to do with it. He hadn't heard anything like that from her. Antes says that he thought that they were friends, but since the girl didn't tell him anything, He only said that they had a contract and it was better for him not to interfere in it. The Duke made a scandal. He explains to the Baron that this man cannot be trusted. The Moon runs up and asks him to watch his language. She orders him to apologize to his father immediately and get out of here, because he doesn't belong here anymore. Previously, the Baron did not react to his behavior in any way, but now he asked him to stop being rude and behaving in this way in front of the guest. The man could always forgive the Duke for yelling at him or being indignant, but he would not allow him to yell at his daughter. And then he said that if these two really love each other, then it's their business and it doesn't concern him. Persin has not calmed down. He claims that the Moon will be his girlfriend and no one will be able to stand in his way. Antes hit him with all his might at that very second. It was so unexpected that everyone around was scared. The guy showed who really deserves to be with her. Persin is lying on the floor in the dust and can't comprehend what just happened. He was humiliated, shown to his place. Then Antes came closer and asked him to repeat the same thing he said a second ago. The Duke remained silent, and Antes warned him that if he said anything more of the sort, he would make him dream of death. Persin's face hurts a lot. It's so numb that when he touches it, the guy doesn't feel anything. At first he was very ashamed, but he resists and still continues to convince the girl to take a closer look at the one she traded him for and not make a mistake. This time she didn't feel sorry for him. She was upset that the blow didn't bring him to his senses. She came up to them and said directly that she no longer wanted to see him in her life. The best thing he could do for her was to disappear, and for the Duke this sounded more painful than the blow that Antes had dealt him. Luna's very angry. She repeated that they are no longer friends. He is a rude, tactless, and selfish person who does not know how to listen to anyone but himself. She explained that she was not his property and ordered him to get out of her sight immediately. Antes praised her for her good work, but she still doubts that he understood her. They had quarreled like this many times already. The Duke can come to them even tomorrow, as if nothing had happened. The girl is very happy that everything turned out this way. She felt light in her soul, and she said everything she had wanted for a long time. Luna hasn't been so happy for a long time that she had a fight with someone and almost hugged Antes. And in the meantime, she wanted to go back to what he had done. The lady recalled how he had punched the Duke's air, asked him to explain it somehow, but he didn't care. Antes replied that if he needed to beat someone up, he would do it with pleasure, especially the Duke. Before the Moon would start telling that something was wrong, but now she smiles because she liked feeling next to someone who could always stand up for her. She literally glows with happiness and is already inviting him to dinner and asking how he was going to leave without eating. Of course, the guy is only happy. He noticed that she is no longer as distant from him as before. He likes her like this much more. Dinner was served literally 5 minutes later. The Baron suggests celebrating their acquaintance. He likes to communicate with Antes much more than with the Duke because he is constantly dissatisfied with something. The guy is happy to hear this. He calmly drinks his drink and feels that he is welcome here. He just now decided to clarify something, namely that he and his daughter are not together, but everything is heading in that direction. Luna says that nothing is going anywhere yet and asks not to confuse her father, who takes everything too literally. Antes had already become such good friends with her father that he was not afraid to tell her that he had been courting his daughter for a long time. But she did not reciprocate his feelings. She was probably just shy. Luna felt very awkward. She decided to go for a walk. They left her father alone and went outside. The girl doesn't understand how he can talk about this with the Baron. She asked him not to do it. She realized that the guy simply wasn't listening to her. She wanted to tell him a lot when suddenly he apologized, put his jacket on her, and explained that he was not himself today, so he did not control what he said. Moon, are you not on him? Because thanks to him, she got rid of Person as she wanted. She didn't notice how she said that today he was incredible. She really liked his behavior. Maybe because it was the first time, or maybe the Moon likes it when someone solves her problems in a way that she couldn't do. They sat down on a bench. Ante was pleased that this day had gone this way and not otherwise. Luna complimented him that it suited him to be persistent and also said that she was very pleased. Antes, Vincent. Rumor has it that he is crazy, but he thinks more sensibly than all the others who have no faults. The Moon began to look at him differently. In the original story, Antes was the villain who opposes the protagonist Persin. His defeat in the struggle for power in the Duchy of Rodrian and his subsequent expulsion from the family where he was forced to take the place of Duke Vincent, became the trigger for the emergence of a personal feeling of inferiority, as a result of which the Antes, overcome with anger, continued to commit terrible acts. Fate itself predicts a terrible death for the villain, but the more the girl learns about this man, the more she wonders whether this man is really the same character from the novel. Maybe he, just like the character Luna, went down a different path because of her. What if he also became different from the original? While she was thinking about this, he was also thinking about something, and all the time they were looking at each other. Suddenly the guy asked her not to move, puts his hand to her face. She already thought that he wanted to kiss her. He could have done it, but he just straightened his jacket. Luna got angry at herself. What was she thinking? Antes extended his hand again, and she had the same thoughts. He simply suggested returning to the house. The Baron was probably bored, but now he needed to think about whether Antes would stay the night or go home. Meanwhile, Duchess Rodrian is unhappy that Persan is late. The woman asked the assistant to tell him to come to her as soon as he appeared. The maid surprised her and said that a grand lady had arrived to visit them, but she hadn't warned about her visit. The girl apologized for arriving at such a late hour. Something serious must have happened. They haven't seen each other for a long time. The lady feels awkward and doesn't even know where to start. Sarah says that she hasn't been able to see Mr. Person for a long time and hasn't heard any news about him, so she had to take such measures. She really needs to know if he is here or not, but the woman is forced to upset her. She said that this morning Persin went to the Baron's estate, and this is terrible news for the lady. She burst into tears. It sounded terrible. The lady regretted that she had run after this man, and instead of coming to her, he spends almost all his time near the moon. If only she knew that the moon was trying to get rid of him. Everything would be different, and the problem would only be in him. The woman offered to drink a cup of tea. She began to calm her down, but it did not help. The lady drinks tea and feels terrible that her son is causing so much trouble to the sweet girl. The girl says that Lady Moon continues to cling to her boyfriend without any shame, who already has a fiancé, but how wrong she is. The woman also heard about it. Rumors about it spread in the higher echelons as if faster than everything happens. And then something interesting started. The Duchess turned on her common sense. She asked if there was confirmation that her son was having an affair with the moon. She understands that the guy offended her. But now the girl is no different from people who spread only speculation and slander, relying only on their emotions. It sounds rude, but it is so. Deep down, the lady understood that the woman was right. She promised to look into it and thanked her for her support. But until that happens, she will still be sure that the moon is to blame for everything. Sarah can't hold back. She cries, apologizes for her behavior, and hopes for understanding. The lady thought that she had turned it upside down a bit. She should have spoken to her more gently. Well, that's how it is. And then they report that the young gentleman has returned. Sarah immediately began to wipe away her tears and did not have time to understand whether she was happy about it or not. She immediately wanted to see him and asked to be taken straight to his room. And the assistant apologized, asked not to misunderstand her, but the gentleman said that he did not want to see anyone. First thought, it's all because of the moon lady again. All the problems are because of her. Sarah ran to him in spite of everything, because she knows that no one but her can save this relationship. She found him, almost burst into tears, and already forgot what she wanted to tell him. The lady noticed that his face was all bruised. But if Persan was fighting for the moon, Sarah would just pass out. She asks how he got hurt and doesn't even want to think about the fact that it could be because of the moon. The girl took his hand tenderly, but he apologized and asked to leave him alone. Instead of thinking about it in private, he openly says how much he is irritated by Antes, who fell in love with his girlfriend. Sarah has no idea how this happened. Duke Persan is her fiancé and lover. It can't be that something changed and he married someone other than her. At least she wouldn't want that. The girl did nothing wrong, but she already feels like a redundant person. There has been too much moon lately. She already hates her, a little more, and Sarah will openly begin to compete with her and take revenge for every missed tear. The Duchess comes in, is indignant that the lady allows herself to do this, hints that she is not at home and cannot so freely burst into any room. The girl apologized. She understands that she is behaving too rudely today and is ready to leave. She wished everyone good night and was already ready to make a plan on how to protect herself and the Duke from the hated moon. The next day came. Luna asked Antes from the very morning to take her to the Duke Grand's estate. She has some business with Lady Sarah. On the way they talk about her, the guy thinks that the girl hates her. Luna also guesses about it, so she goes to discuss everything. It will be better for everyone if Sarah finds out that Luna doesn't want to be with her boyfriend and that she is already tired of his persistence, so there can be no complaints against her. The girl says that if she loved, it would be one thing, but everyone mistakenly thinks that everything is mutual between them. The guy says that he will be there, and that with him, she cannot worry. He will always be on her side. She is very happy that she has support. She feels calmer with him. All that remains is to survive the upcoming conversation. The moon asks not to talk to her for the rest of the journey, so that she could prepare her speech and arguments in advance. The moon is already entering the palace. Asks the guy to wait for her outside, and if she needs help, she will definitely call him. The assistant reported that they had a guest. Luna felt very awkward and understood that Sena was probably not very happy to see her. The last time they had a terrible fight at dinner, Luna is planning to fix everything and is already very nervous. The lady asks how she can help her. What is the reason for the visit? And at that moment, the moon forgets everything she wanted to tell her. At that moment, Sarah closes her eyes and falls from the couch to the floor, as if losing consciousness. The moon was very scared for her, immediately rose, although she does not know what to do. The girl came to her senses. She grabbed her head, but did not say a word. She is very scared. She doesn't understand what is happening. She recently had breakfast, and she should have enough energy. Just recently, everything was fine, and now suddenly it got worse, out of the blue. Sarah notices the moon and asks what it is doing here. The girl reminded that they had just said hello, and the lady didn't understand what she was talking about. Sarah is acting very strange. She rarely changed her behavior. Asked to take her dirty hands away from her, and called the guest a villain whom she did not want to see in her home. She says that the moon came to make fun of her, to tell her how everything is fine with her and Persin, and the girl replied that it is not so. Sarah doesn't listen to her. She is completely absorbed in her delusions, as usual. Luna realized that Sarah doesn't listen to words, but she will definitely notice actions, and she has something for her. This is the money that she threw at her recently, and now the girl is giving her back 10 times more. For this, she asked them both to get out of her life, to never show up in her sight again, and finally to deal with their own problems, and not to blame her for anything anymore. Sarah thought it was some kind of joke. How could the moon, who was crazy about her boyfriend, demand that they stop bothering her? At this point, the guest says goodbye to her and says that she hopes that she will never meet either her or Percent again. Sarah didn't understand anything. She was angry that the last word was not hers. The girl ran out of the room, ordered to grab the guest right now. Luna runs away from the knights with all her might and remembers that help is waiting for her at the exit. She laughed at these people and said that now they were in for a surprise. No one knew that Ante was waiting for her. He told her to wait aside and leave it all to him. The girl got scared, asked him not to overdo it, and promised that it wouldn't take more than 5 minutes. He wants to deal with everyone who can harm her and was not afraid to do it alone against several people. The Duke runs out. He orders everyone to get out of the way. He wants to deal with the guest himself. The guy took out his sword, but did it so slowly that Antes got ahead of him and did it very deftly. One by one, no one was left around, and Sarah regretted that she had sent assistants to catch the moon. She approached them in horror and regretted that she did not have the ability to teleport to some other place. Antes asked if this is how guests are greeted in the Grand Duchy, or if this is how they only greet them. The girl immediately asked not to be angry with her. She wants to tell everything, points her finger at the moon, complains that it was she who insulted her, and if it weren't for this impudent mistress, none of this would have happened. The guy asked her to look around because she was insulting herself and didn't even notice it. Then he thought that they had already figured everything out and suggested that the moon leaves. The girl told him that he helped her again and that she really appreciated it. He reminded that he was always and will be on her side. Anyone who has anything against her will be punished. They got into the carriage, calmly went about their business. Now Sarah will definitely understand that no one cares about her Duke. For in Tease, it was funny to watch how the lady considers everyone as enemies, but does not notice how her lover himself is moving away from her, and the whole problem is only in him. Luna is of the same opinion, but now it is none of their business, and finally there is one less problem in her life. Now she can take care of her personal life. Auntie's is right nearby and wouldn't mind talking about it either. After that, he told her that now she should only do what she wants and not think about others. The girl promised that she would do so. Now she feels better. All that remains is to understand what she lacks to be happy. She very quickly came up with her first task, to find a carriage for her father so that the two of them wouldn't have to share one. He knows a great place, offered to take them there. Luna is free today, so she said they can go there right now. The guy brought her to the best place with the best carriages, but she didn't like it, even though the moon didn't even go there. She wanted to go somewhere else, but aunties insisted that she choose something here because here are the best carriages. They just chose the most expensive one. A couple of minutes and the carriage is already in front of them. It is golden, big, light, it fits perfectly. The guy asks how she is, and she says, who might not like this? And what kind of strange questions are these? The carriage is new, all shiny, gilded. No one has even touched it or sat inside it. Luna doesn't believe that she has reached such a level to allow herself such luxury. The deed is done. They went for a walk. Auntie's helped her a lot today, and for that, she wants to treat him. There is a famous restaurant nearby, and if he has time, they could go there. He didn't want to choose a restaurant. The guy suggested having dinner at the Baron's estate. He liked it there better. He is crazy about the food he tried there yesterday and really wants to repeat it if she doesn't mind. Luna supported this idea. She would really like to visit a new place, but if he wants so much, she can have dinner at home. The maids have already found out that the mistress has returned with that guy again. They are already calling him her fiancé. They had already started to consult about what to cook. They thought that this dinner should be special. Aunties heard this and said that he had come up with this idea without warning, so regular bread and soup would be enough. And also, very quietly, said that the main reason why he wanted to have dinner here was so that there would be as few people around as possible. He wants to be even closer to her and for her to understand that he has felt for her for a long time. The maids are crazy about what they see, although it is none of their business. But they could not resist and stayed to watch it longer. Just in case, the guy asked if he was causing any inconvenience, since he had been staying with them too often lately. The moon heard about feelings and immediately stopped smiling. She is no longer happy about this dinner, she said so. Aunties got upset and started manipulating her. Supposedly, he helped her so much today, and she kicks him out. The girl was about to start a conflict, but her assistants intervened and stopped her in time. They asked her to just have dinner with this man because he really deserves to be thanked. It was very difficult. Everyone was putting pressure on her. The moon did not resist and did as they wanted. Dinner went smoothly. The next day came. The moon really wanted to be alone, but the guy stayed with them for the night. He takes advantage of her kindness, has breakfast, unlike her, slept well and feels great. Luna is worried. Her father hasn't been home since the evening. This hasn't happened for a long time. The girl is already all on edge. A letter arrives from the Duke of Rodrian's estate. The assistant brought it as soon as she received it. For Lady Moon, Raven is fine. He is at the Duke's estate. He is doing well, so don't worry. Best wishes. Butler Gillian. The girl didn't understand why he was sending a letter saying he was okay, as if something had happened to him. She immediately decided to go there to find her father, and Antessa asked to go home. He wanted to go with her, under the guise that he could help, but he himself simply did not want to part with her. She says that it could be dangerous for him to appear there, but the guy didn't listen, quickly got dressed and was ready to leave. They arrived at the palace half an hour later, as usual, without warning about it. The girl said that she arrived immediately after receiving a letter from the butler, but the man reacted as if he did not remember him sending her anything like that. Aunties found all this suspicious. He realized that something was wrong, but he did not want to upset the moon ahead of time. He says that it would be nice to know where exactly her father is. It is unlikely that the Baron would want to stay here overnight. He is clearly being detained here. They walked down the corridor, heard someone talking in the room. The girl saw her father and the Duke, started yelling at him harder than she had ever yelled before in her life, and reminded him how she had asked him to leave her family alone. She immediately realized that he was detaining her father and ordered him to immediately state the reason. Otherwise, he would ask Ante to do it. The guy just heard his name. After that, he immediately said that he was not going to stay here for long and advised to immediately let the Baron go. The Duke was surprised that he had not noticed him until that moment and was angry that this man had set foot on the threshold of his house. Ante said that he doesn't care where they are now. He came to help the moon, and if necessary, he will beat him even while in this house. In his own house, the Duke falls to his knees and justifies himself by saying that there is no reason to punish him. The girl doesn't understand what's going on. What did he do to make him bow down to Ante, his main enemy, for the first time in his life? The Duchess finds out about her visit. She comes and does not hide that she is unhappy to see her here. She says that since they are guests, they should have waited in the living room and not created problems in someone else's home. Luna thought, how dare these people be indignant at her after they ruin her life. They are the ones creating the problems. So she allowed herself to scream and said that Antes is here as her assistant, and if he does something, then it must be so. And then added that besides the fact that he helps her, he is also her lover, who protects her from people like her impudent and ill-mannered son. The girl realized a second later what she had said. She already regretted it, but from the outside it looked beautiful. Antes came up, hugged her, and added that her beloved had an important matter, and he personally had nothing to do here. But he just can't part with her for a second and couldn't send her here alone. She's already blushing. She doesn't understand whether they're doing the right thing or not, and what all this will lead to. The Duchess is ready to listen to what important business she has in this house. As Luna already said, her father went to work and did not return for a long time, without even warning about it. So she came here to find out if he was okay. She took her father, told him how worried she was about him, and was very glad that he was okay, although he was clearly not telling her something. The Baron justifies himself by saying that he was simply tired and decided to stay here for the night, and he is very ashamed that he did not think about how he would make her worry. It sounded very strange. The moon took him by the hands and said only one thing. The main thing is that everything is okay with him, and how everything really happened is no longer important. She will definitely punish Persen because she is sure that he detained her father to take revenge for the previous situation. Antes asked if she had decided what she would do after this meeting. Because at the very least this is clearly an illegal detention of a person, he suggests filing a complaint with the duchy. But if they do it later, their arguments will no longer be as effective. They may not admit their mistakes, and on the contrary, it is difficult to blame other people. This is very common for the Rodrian family. He wants to protect her, advise her on how to do better. It would be nice to prepare. He even has a lawyer friend for such a case. The girl thanked him, said that it would be very useful, but she had something else that she wanted to tell him. Luna wants to apologize for accidentally saying that they were together, and if it made him uncomfortable, then she is ready to do whatever he wants. If rumors spread, she is ready to take responsibility and fix everything. Antes wasn't very upset. He smiled and said that there was no need to do anything like that. Everything suited him. The Baron heard everything. He really likes to watch them from the side. And when his daughter saw him, he said that he was not here and they could continue to communicate. The gentleman finally came home. Everyone was waiting for him. The maids have a lot of questions. But the main thing is that she is okay and he is smiling. They were very worried when they saw that the lady left with a serious look, to which he replied that all this was no longer important because there was more important news. Antes and Luna decided to start dating officially. He relayed everything he heard to the other. And the moon is already going crazy because the further it goes, the more people think that she is really dating that person. The cooks quickly prepared dinner. There are already several main courses and snacks on the table. As expected after a hard and productive day, the Baron and the guy communicate well. The girl is half happy about this, so she can rest a little. But on the other hand, he might want to stay with them for the night again. Time passed. She began to hint that they had already drunk too much. Now it was time to go to rest, and for some, it was time to go home. Antes might have left, but the lawyer he called arrived, which means the dinner continues. The lawyer's name is Lawyer. He is the personal lawyer of the Vincent family, and he is very knowledgeable in his field. The girl introduced herself in response, when suddenly this man began to interrupt her. Offers to come to a peace agreement right away, but she doesn't quite understand what that means. She explains that she has no intentions. He already starts begging her for something, and already asked to allow compensation for all her losses and takes out some document. He says that this agreement does not imply that she should suffer any losses. Moreover, she is entitled not only to compensation for material damage, but also compensation for moral damage that she suffered in this situation. Antes understood everything. He stopped his lawyer and explained that he had misunderstood everything a little and had made a mistake. Her client, Lady Moon, and all because of the Duke, whom he personally knows. It turns out that the assistant thought that it was his master who harmed her, and that she would have to pay for him. The man says he was called so urgently that he thought Antes had done something wrong, and is very glad that this was not the case. Antes didn't like that the lawyer scared the girl. He already wants to contact another assistant, and he asks him to leave. The man thought it was a joke and didn't take these words seriously. But the guy said he wasn't joking. He really changed his mind and didn't need his help anymore. Lawyer reminded that in this empire there is no other lawyer capable of handling such a difficult character except him. Antes doesn't like it when people argue with him. He understood that he was getting hot-tempered, but he's not going to admit it. The moon saw how this man approached his work responsibly. Even though he made a mistake, he was ready to do the maximum of his abilities so that everyone would be happy, and that is exactly what she needs. She said that she wanted to entrust him with her case and suggested discussing everything over lunch. The man appreciated her mercy. For her sake, he is ready to put his name, reputation on the line and do everything to ensure that she is satisfied with his work. They shook hands and agreed to cooperate. In the meantime, the lawyer studied the case. However, no matter how you look at it, it is quite obvious that Mr. Person detained the Baron illegally, and if you prepare the statement well, there should be no problems and they will punish him. The man refused lunch. He had recently eaten a big meal. Besides, at work it is not customary to agree to such things. It is not professional. When the lawyer started talking about the gentleman's past problems, with which he helped him, the guy started hinting that today he had already said too much, and if he had done everything, then he could already leave. The man thanked me for the opportunity to help the cause. He was glad to meet him. The moon wanted to be in peace and quiet. Went outside, enjoyed it for literally a couple of minutes. Antes found her, warmed her with his outerwear, and wanted to take a walk together. He is ready to listen to all her complaints, but if there is something good, he will only be glad. She replied that since everything had ended well, there was nothing more to discuss. And suddenly, for the first time, she wanted to know why he was so obsessed with the idea of dating her. What was so special about her that other girls didn't have? Moreover, she doesn't have the best reputation, and some nice girl would look good with him. At least that's what she thinks. He says that everything is very simple. There is one reason, that's what his heart tells him. The guy can tell her about it as much as he wants, as long as she doesn't forget about it. He couldn't hold on again. And he says that she is the best, and there is no one in this world who could compare to her. Then he apologized, realized that she didn't like it, and even stepped aside to give her some personal space. Luna feels very awkward. Somewhere deep down she is pleased to hear this. But it is so unusual that her face constantly turns red and she feels uneasy. Nothing interesting happened during the night. The next day came. The moon woke up later than usual. The assistant came and she asked her if Mr. Vincent was waiting for her at the table. The maid says that he left at dawn, but asked to pass on this and said that he was very sorry that he left without saying goodbye. The letter says something strange happened at home. Had to come back earlier than I wanted if any difficulties arise. Be sure to consult a lawyer. I'm sorry for everything I might have done yesterday. Please just don't hate me. See you soon. Lola butted in where it wasn't her business, saying that the mistress liked the master and that she was very pleased to see it. Luna pretended she didn't hear it. She endures it with all her might, but is in no hurry to tell the truth. All this time, the girl was waiting for him to leave, but now that it happened, she is very sad and does not want to be alone. She got so used to him that she was already bored, but she would never admit it to herself. Half a day passed. A letter arrived from the Rodrian family's lawyer. The assistant immediately brought it to the mistress. The moon tensed up. It was unlikely that something pleasant was written there. The lawyer sent the arguments that the Duke's family will present against them in court. They will say that they came to the estate without warning and made a scandal, and there was also an attack on the heir of the family, as a result of which the reputation of the Duke was greatly damaged. So it was decided to sue the Baron of Palais. Luna is outraged that they also claim that the father skips work without permission. Her lawyer thought it would be easier and already guessed who the plaintiff's lawyer might be. The Rodrians will be represented by a lawyer named Polkan. He agrees to any job for money. He is known for using dirty and petty methods. The lives of many people were ruined after they lost to him. Since they are cooperating with the Polkan, the Duke is very hostile and serious. Now their family is still treated coldly in high society. If the reputation gets even worse, everything could end very sadly. The girl asks what their chances of winning are, because if there aren't any, she just wants to accept it in advance. The lawyer says it like it is, that it will be difficult with them, but that does not mean that their side is weaker. He offers to clarify something else in court, something that the other side is keeping silent about, the fact that they were holding the girl's father. The Duke's family must have gotten rid of all evidence long ago, but they'll definitely come up with something about it. Luna wants to know if she can help with anything, and the lawyer would like to ask her for evidence against the ducal family. The girl is upset because you can't create something that doesn't exist, and that's a big problem. And then she has a brilliant idea to create evidence, even if there was none. She very happily announced that she had a brilliant idea that she would like to bring to life. The next day, the Pales family filed a counterclaim against the Rodrian family. This was an unprecedented event for aristocratic society, so rumors spread at the speed of light. Even the emperor sent an investigator to confirm some facts. Instead of clearly responding to the statement, the Duke's side continues to talk about Baron Pales's absenteeism. After some time, someone persuaded one of the Duke's assistants to plant a fake letter on him. Supposedly, the moon wanted to return their relationship. The maid pretended that she had just received the letter, and he noticed it. The guy started snatching it from her hands as if he felt there was something special there. He read the letter, melted, and began to glow from within. But he doesn't even realize that all this is not true. He had warm memories, hope. But very soon, all this will dissolve, and it will become very painful for him. Everything looks so realistic that it is impossible to guess that there is some kind of catch in its place. The day of the trial between Duke Rodrian and Baron Pales, aristocrats from all over the empire showed up to witness the outcome of the scandalous story. They argue about who will win. The majority are for the Duke's family, but there are also those who support the Baron. Meanwhile, the party's representatives are ready. The judge is in place. The trial begins. To begin with, they began to listen to the arguments of both sides. The first was the lawyer of the Pales family. The reason behind the Pales family's lawsuit is that on the day of the incident, the Baron went to work at the Duke's estate. The Duke's son looked into his office and said that he needed to talk about something. The young gentleman demanded that the commercial rights to a gold mine that had recently been discovered on the Baron's territory be transferred to the hands of the Rodrian family. The Baron replied that this was impossible, since a contract had already been concluded with other merchants. However, despite the refusal, the young gentleman repeatedly demanded that the trading rights be transferred, asked for a personal meeting with Lady Pales, who is the owner of the mine, and continued to put pressure on the Baron. After the Baron rejected all requests, not only the master could not contain his anger and locked the Baron in his own office until the next day. In connection with this, on behalf of the Baron, they demand from the Duke's family a sincere apology and compensation for moral damages. After this, the Duke's lawyer was given the floor, and before he began, he asked him to say something. He says that the thing is that all their statements are outright lies, because everything they discussed that day were normal work topics. The judge thinks that this sounds strange, and could it be that the Baron stayed at work only because he was so engrossed in his work and did not want to go on vacation? The lawyer said that this was true, that the Baron had been suffering from failures lately and had been devoting all his time to work, just like that night. According to the lawyer, this is what actually happened that time. The gentleman, who had known the Baron for many years, took pity on him and wanted to teach him at least something. But the Baron, not being able to learn quickly, got angry and said, "I don't want to do anything." In the end, the work that the Baron was delaying, the gentleman was forced to do himself. And instead of thanking the gentleman for his efforts, he made a vile criminal out of him. According to him, that is what the Baron's statement is connected with. And as evidence, they presented all the written statements of the servants of the Duke's house. It talks about how the Baron was irresponsible in his duties and how angry cries were often heard from his office. The judge said that the testimony had to be heard in court so that it could be accepted, but no one came, and the lawyer said that the servants were all scared, so no one came. All this lasted for a very long time. The judge listened to both sides and is ready to make a court decision. Since both sides gave different testimonies regarding what happened between the two families, upon examination of the statements and evidence, the Baron's testimony was found to be justified. The Duke's side must take responsibility for the incident and pay the compensation requested by the Baron as soon as possible. Moreover, the matter was so serious that the Emperor sent his investigator, Considering the fact that false testimony was given in court in order to avoid charges, the judge sentences the Duke's family to pay a fine of 1 million gold pieces. The Rodrians lost. Everyone was sure that the court would support the Duke, but justice won. Meanwhile, the Duke found out that the letter was not real and wants to take revenge for it. He followed the moon, caught up with her, and asked her to answer his question. Why did she do it? The girl thought that he had made something up again. Maybe he had dreamed something. The Duke did not have time to run to her as the guard stopped him. He breaks away, wants to hear at least something from her, but does not realize that she has no idea that someone sent him a letter on her behalf. He took it as a betrayal. It was an act he never expected from her. At that moment, she paid attention to him, did not try to figure anything out, simply asked him not to create unnecessary noise. She asked him to come to his senses and not to invent things that never happened, as he usually does. Now they are already on their way home, thanking the lawyer. Without him, they would never have defeated those swindlers. Even though a man is used to the fact that when he takes on a task, it can't be any other way, he still gets very pleased to hear gratitude every time. The Baron really wants to repay him with something, to which the lawyer replied that he does not demand anything because he is doing his job and did it with pleasure. It is enough for him that the lady and the gentleman love each other and are happy for the rest of their lives, he said so. Luna felt very awkward again, but it was her own fault. The girl had said a lot of things and now she was taking the rap. The Baron and his daughter are already home. They have started work. They are conducting an interview. They have already found a suitable person and are asking him to start work tomorrow. The man didn't even have time to really tell anything about himself. He was already hired and doesn't believe that he didn't even have to try for this. The girl has already promised to increase his salary 3 times, compared to what it was at his previous job. She called it an investment and is sure that no employee would refuse it. The man thanked them. He sees for the first time such employers who do not spare money for those who will work for them. He really likes this approach. From tomorrow, he will become a secretary and will try not to disappoint anyone. The Baron really hopes that they will work together. He used to do this too, so he can teach him a thing or two. They made him happy. They said that at first they would not expect excellent results because everything comes with experience. From the first day, Thane was engaged in diligent study. The girl heard that he could only rest during sleep. He set such rules for himself, even managed to put pressure on the Baron so that he would not relax and be as productive as possible. Luna watches this with pleasure. She thought that her father was doing well, but it turns out that he has never given it his all. Luna is already making plans, wants to buy all the mines, and is already enjoying her work. Her assistant came to her and reminded her that it was time for them to go out somewhere. The girl said goodbye to her father, wished him a good working day, and promised that she would return soon. He wished her a good journey, but did not even look in her direction. He was so tired. It turns out that today is a special day. The moon is buying another estate, but she didn't tell her father anything about it. It should be a surprise. She has already arrived at the place. Cleo met her. This man will show her the estate and answer all her questions. He found a house that suited her wishes and requirements. They started with the nearest building. This first place he is going to talk about already looks pretty good. He says that it is cool now, so there are not as many flowers as there could be. In the spring, a variety of flowers bloom in the garden, which makes the estate much brighter and more beautiful. And also, this task is relatively new, and the location is quite good, not far from the city center. There is a very luxurious atmosphere here. There is nothing to complain about. Everything is top-notch. The girl asked to remind her how much this house cost, and when the guy named the amount, the assistant was surprised and came up to say, which sounds a bit strange, the moon is of the same opinion, although they had previously agreed on something completely different. The amount is too small. Such a beautiful estate cannot cost that much. There must be something here that caused the price to be lowered so much. It is clear that they want to sell this house as soon as possible. Now we need to find out why exactly. The girl starts to check where the catch is, asks if Cleo could connect her with the owner of the house. Supposedly, she likes everything so much that she would like to sign a contract with him right away. The guy is confused. He is very happy that she likes everything, but still suggests looking at other options. Luna doesn't understand what the problem is in contacting the owner. She looks like an ideal buyer who didn't even bother to find fault with anything or lower the price. Cleo once again suggested to look at the next mansion and said that she would like it much more than this one. Here they are already in the neighboring house. This house that he wants to sell to her, but not just like that. He was asked to do so. If only the girl knew who was inside this house. This person had already seen her from the window. Some strange situation. It is not clear what Sarah is doing here. Does she also want to buy this house? Luna was no longer again stopping at this option. She asked how much this estate cost. Its price, 100,000 gold. The moon is completely confused. This house is much better than the last one, but it costs half as much. It's impossible. It's all very suspicious. If only roses would cost that much here. But they're selling an entire mansion for that price. Cleo saw that she was surprised and thought that it was too expensive for her. So he said that he thought they could haggle and save a little. Starts hinting that there might be a 50% discount for her. And then the girl realizes that these are some kind of scammers. She cancels the purchase of this house. This person arouses her suspicions. It may be dangerous to cooperate with him. Cleo doesn't understand what the problem is. He tries so hard and she just goes and wastes his time. Manipulations began that if not today, then she would never again be able to purchase this particular estate at such a favorable price. She says that she is very confused by the fact that the price is very low, even too low. Meanwhile, it turns out that this is not Sarah at all. This girl is just copying her appearance. She is her fan and relatively recently made herself an exact copy of that person, which means she could be the owner of this house or a person who is living out their contract here and will soon move out. The girl stumbles due to carelessness. The moon notices this and extends her hand to her in time. At first, she was very scared when she saw Sarah. This often happens when a girl sees it for the first time. She explained that it was not Sarah. Her name was Katarina, and she was very grateful for the help. Luna asked if everything was okay. She was very scared for her and was trying to digest everything she had just heard. She didn't think that people could be so crazy about someone's appearance that they would try to be like them. As an apology, Katarina offered to have a cup of tea with her, and Luna did not refuse. The girl still doesn't understand who she is, but she feels one thing for sure: there is a very good person in front of her. They meet, and it turns out that she is, after all, the owner of this estate. But that's not all. The most interesting thing is happening right now. Luna somehow found out that Katarina is Ante's sister. When the girl told what she heard about her relationship with the Duke, the moon was very upset, but she simply did not listen to her. Katarina wanted to say that this relationship was so bad that she felt sorry for the girl who spent so much of her time on it. The moon was happy. She was of exactly the same opinion. She was surprised that fate had given her such a person with whom it was incredibly pleasant to communicate. They literally don't notice how time flies, and they talk about everything and have fun. Katarina understood why the girl seemed so familiar to her. She had heard something about her before, and admitted that she did not understand how people could say such bad things about this person. These two literally enjoy every second spent together. It will not be surprising if a wonderful and very strong friendship comes out of this. In the end, they agreed that the girl would buy the house, and Katarina would visit her sometimes and tell her how to take care of the flowers. The girl changed the subject and admitted that she would like to be friends with such a good person, but she thinks that the moon already has so many friends, and she is not interested. Luna was very happy. She felt awkward, of course. She was not against it at all, and even thought about suggesting it herself. They held hands from the side. It looks very cute. The moon does not realize anything. She just came to buy a house, and she has already made friends with a good person. You don't even want to deal with her. Luna happily agreed. She told that she doesn't have any friends and never had, so this day will be special for her. They promised each other that they would be friends forever and see each other every day if possible. I hope that this won't turn out to be some kind of trap from the Duke, so the girl will be careful with it. Luna returned to the carriage. She told the lawyer that everything went well and that she even made friends with a good man. The girl does not understand how a person can be much younger than her and yet be so rich. The lawyer explained that the lady is the heiress of the Vincent family, which means it cannot be any other way. She recalls how Ante said that he refused the inheritance, and accordingly, this role was taken on by his younger sister. The plot of the novel that the moon knows is this: the story of a kind and beautiful heroine named Sarah, who became happy with her fiancé Persam. To reach this good ending, she had to endure numerous bullyings from evil people who were jealous of her. If you think about it, the novel is written entirely from the point of view of the main character. This means that the story portrays everyone who is on her side as kind and good, and the enemies are always presented only in a bad light, and for the reader, this was enough. Only after looking at Saira in real life, Luna realized that she was completely different from the described angelic image. Now, you can't think that the characters will be exactly the same as in the novel. This explains a lot, especially one of them, the disgusting villain of this novel, Ante's Vincent. The moon has already learned that he is very good, but only with some. In the original story, he had a conflict with the Duke, but he was not a terrible madman, as the moon thought. If she knew a little more, she might understand how much this world has changed. And now she has a question for the lawyer. He said that Mr. Vincent abused Persen as a child, and she wants to know what the reason was. The girl understands that this topic is not for outsiders, but perhaps it is connected with a conflict between families, or there was some kind of quarrel. She thinks that something happened to the gentleman. She just needs to find out what exactly. The man replied that there was no reason, as if he was not going to tell her anything. Luna didn't quite understand why he answered like that. She thought that he was being honest with her and wouldn't hide anything. And after that, he explained that everything was very simple. Aunties perceived the Duke as a punching bag, and they had no serious conflicts. They just have a dislike for each other since childhood. At that time, he was nicknamed Crazy. Luna is sure that something happened to the guy during this time, and she needs to find out everything. It is possible that his assistant may not know the whole situation, and therefore did not tell anything interesting. This time they were late. The moon did not fulfill her promise to her father, and she is very ashamed. She is in a hurry to explain to him that it is not her fault, it just happened that way. Today is a special evening. Dad is leaving soon to go gold mining, and today they are having a farewell party. She came to him with a bouquet of flowers, immediately apologized for being late, and promised that this would not happen again. The girl, as always, will miss him, and wants to believe that this time he won't leave for long. Then she told him that she had found a suitable estate, which pleased him, and promised to show him as soon as he returned. And in the meantime, she began to have dinner. Everything looks so delicious that it is impossible to look away. It is obvious that the chefs tried their best, as they know how to do. Father is very sorry that everything was just getting better for them, and he has to leave. But this is only so that they can become even richer. The daughter said that she was not offended. She understood everything, because if it were not for him, she would have to do it. They don't stop looking at each other. Their family warmth is felt even by other people present. People around them had not seen them so happy for a long time, and were sincerely glad that good times had overtaken their family. Meanwhile, the Baron said very beautiful words. He thanked them for preparing dinner for him today. That even though winter was approaching, he hoped that warmth and abundance would always be hidden in their hearts. He became a completely different person. You can see how he began to love his life, and everyone who always supported him is very happy about it. It was a wonderful evening. Even the servants were invited to the table, because they are one of those who are always there and believed in him even when times were the hardest. All the guests began to leave. The moon asked the secretary to stay. She had to give him something. The girl gave him a bag of coins. He can take it as a bonus, only it will be better if her father does not find out about it. The man remembers that she said about bonuses, but he feels very awkward because he has done almost nothing. Not even a couple of days have passed, and she is already giving him so much money. He says she will need it to do repairs in her new house, and she replied that she will not take the money back. The girl persuaded him to keep them for himself, and he promised to spend them wisely and thanked her again for everything she does for him. She almost forgot to give him a letter that he needed to deliver personally to Mr. Antes. This letter should under no circumstances be open to anyone else, and the first thought that came to his mind was that it was definitely some kind of love letter. The secretary promised to do everything in the best possible way, especially since after such a bonus, he would gladly carry out any of her instructions. Luna asked him that when he got there, he should definitely contact her and say that everything was okay, and then they said goodbye. She also thanked Lola for working and trying since the morning and suggested that she go into the house so as not to freeze. Meanwhile, Antes received his letter. He was told that the lady asked to read it in private so that no one would be around. He is surprised, already thinking what important news there could be. that he doesn't even want to read it in front of others. The guy asked me to tell her that he would answer soon, but for now he had some things to do. In fact, he only pretended to be in a hurry in front of others. But as soon as he was alone, he immediately opened the letter. Long time no see, Mr. Vincent. You may already know, but I managed to win the case without any problems. Since then, Persen has not appeared in front of me. He still looked quite shocked. Antes regretted that he couldn't see it in person. He was embarrassed even though this letter was on business. He was still pleased that the girl spent time on this and notified him. There is also a second part to the letter. Please take care of my father. He is a much more vulnerable person than it may seem at first glance. If it concerns the matter, then it is fair to be as strict as necessary. But if I hear that you treated him rudely in other situations, I will never forgive it. You just thought I was joking, but you shouldn't, because I'm there for everything, even if it cost me my entire fortune. And lastly, Mr. Vincent, now that everything has ended well, we should also gradually get rid of these fake relationships. Of course, it is still too early because it will surprise those around us too much. But I think it's necessary to hint that we are going to break up. So until our next meeting, let's think together how we can communicate this. The pleasant emotions disappeared. He puts the letter in an envelope. His soul is very painful. He doesn't want her to think about it. It was supposed to last much longer. The guy smiles slightly, believing that everything is not so bad, and maybe he can make her change her mind. The next day came. As agreed, the friends had already met, were drinking tea, and Katarina suggested throwing a party. In honor of moving to a new house, she always did this and invites the moon to do the same. She wants to celebrate her new beginning, like a clean slate, but the moon didn't react at all. She drinks tea unevenly because she feels that if she throws a party, no one will come. The girl thinks about how to refuse this and do it more gently, but Katarina doesn't know the situation and insists that they do it. Katarina doesn't understand what the problem is. She saw that the moon is silent and decided not to press it. She understands everything perfectly from her face. Her friend turned pale as if she was not telling him something. In the end, they agreed that there would be a party. All hope was on Katarina's friends, who might come to support her new friend. The lady arranged a meeting very quickly to get acquainted. The moon was in the mood to have a good conversation, but seeing these people, she is completely confused because these are the same people she already knows. She is simply speechless. Everyone looks at each other and wonders how such a coincidence can happen. Luna doesn't understand how such people can be friends with the beautiful Katarina. But is she really the same as her friends? The next day came. The moon decided to change the scenery and finally showed everyone the house they would be living in from tomorrow. This is the same huge mansion that she bought at a good price and is already looking forward to moving in. The moon says that it is too early to be surprised and happy because it is much more beautiful inside. There are already servants in this house. Each introduced himself in turn, but for now all questions can be asked to the butler, Carlton. He promised that, from that day on, their servants would sincerely take care of the new mistress of this house. She replied that she relied on him and that she was very glad to meet him. Luna's assistants are at a loss as to what they are doing here, since there are a lot of servants here. Lola was the most scared of all. She began to fear that she might lose her job and would no longer be in demand. Luna warned that they would now have much less work, and even if there was none left, she still wasn't going to fire anyone. Carlton suggests looking around Luna's room, and if she doesn't like something, they'll find her another option. She said it wasn't necessary because she wanted to choose the rooms that Lola and Emma would use. He starts to lead them to the common room for servants at the end of the corridor, on the first floor. And then the lady asks him to stop. She says she doesn't want to ignore the rules of this house, but she would like to give them separate rooms next to her room, if there are any here. Because Lola and Emma are not just servants, they are very important people in her family. The butler understood everything. He was ready to do as she wished, but he reacted to it somehow strangely. Then asked to follow him, and from that moment the moon begins to feel a strange atmosphere. She has a bad feeling, as if all these people are not telling her something, or are offended that she provides good rooms to her servants, but not to the rest. Not having time to get used to the new house, Luna, on the advice of her friend, begins to prepare for a party. But this is an exaggeration. It will be more like an ordinary tea party. Luna is very nervous, and she is also worried that everything here is somehow strange. Even though this is her home, she feels like a guest. Maybe she just hasn't had time to get used to it. The assistant came and said that Lady Vincent had arrived, although they had agreed to meet much later. The girl is very happy to see her, but there is not enough time and she does not know how to combine everything. Katarina knew her friend would be surprised that she arrived so early. Luna replied that she was very glad to see her, but it would be even better if she arrived a little later. Katarina decided to give her something before the party started. This gift is held in the hands of one of the maids. These are the lace gloves and bow. They were custom made for the occasion of the party and it matches the moon dress perfectly. And these are also paired accessories. My friend thought it would be really cool and said it was really important to her. Luna put on this bow, it looks great on her. Without it, the image would be much worse. Other friends have already arrived. Katarina is in a hurry to introduce them to each other. One of them is the daughter of Count Dinovan. Her name is Elaine. Another one from the Viscount's family, her name is Karen, and so far things are going well. They thanked for the invitation and congratulated the new owner of this luxurious house on its purchase. And then Elaine apologizes to the hostess and asks if she would mind if there were more of them. One girl wanted to attend the party, but she was not invited. Luna replied that everything was fine. She would be glad if there was one more nice person in their company. This friend was in the carriage all this time. She was invited to join, and now she is calm that no one is against her presence. The carriage was so far away that none of them noticed each other. But when Flora came closer, Luna couldn't believe that this man came to her house. When they saw each other last time, she thought that Katarina understood everything and wouldn't invite her. The girl pretended that everything was fine. And as it turned out, when you had another girl, but after all this, she doesn't care anymore, even if there are 10 of them. Flora immediately wanted to leave here. She regretted that she did not find out the name of the owner of the house in advance. Luna tries to remain polite, thanked everyone for coming all this way. She told me how she was very worried, how she prepared and really wanted the party to go in the best possible way. Suggested treating ourselves to various sweets. There are a huge number of them on the table, for every taste and color. Everyone is sitting calmly at the table, smiling. It's even surprising that no one has quarreled yet. The assistant brought a letter from Lord Tane. She thinks Luna should read it right now. The girl apologized to the guests, promised to return soon, and left with a smile to read the letter. Flora waited for the right moment, turned to her friends and said that she wanted to say something. She thought for a long time whether to speak or not, but she thinks that it needs to be done. She says that Lady Luna is deceiving everyone, and now they will find out the true face of the new owner of this house. Flora burst into tears and began to hint that Luna was a real villain and that they had known each other before. The girl comes back, apologizes again for being distracted. She can already see that something is wrong with their faces. Everyone is hiding their gaze, as if they had just been discussing her. She was gone for literally a couple of minutes, and now there is a strange atmosphere here. Katarina did not remain silent. She asked Flora to continue saying what she had started. Luna understood everything. She didn't even have to listen to anyone. And after that, she reminded Flora that if she had something against her, then no one was stopping her from leaving the party right now. She doesn't want the atmosphere of tea party to be spoiled. And if the problem is in one person, then she will gladly take him home. Flora is outraged. She wants everyone to know the truth, like how Luna mocked her in the boutique. The girl did not remain silent. She explained that Flora then began to laugh at her and call her a low-class girl who could not afford to buy a single dress there. And if Flora hadn't insulted her then, she wouldn't have responded in kind. Luna is very glad that she did not remain silent, but Floppa began to speak for the Duke, to which the girl replied that without proof that they were together, she would not even discuss this topic. The girl will no longer allow her to ruin her life, authority, and relationships with new friends. She has no patience. She is already grabbing her head and wants to kick her out of her house right now. So she did. These two are already leaving the estate, and the servants received orders never to let her into this territory under any circumstances. As a result, the party is ruined, and the same goes for the mood. The moon promised that next time everything would go much better. Katarina feels guilty that she didn't refuse Flora. She's very ashamed because everything could have gone differently. Everyone supported each other, agreed to meet next time in the same group, and not to invite anyone else. Katarina thought that maybe it was for the best that everything had turned out this way. Now no one would have to communicate with the villain anymore. They saw each other's true faces and are very happy about it. Now their friendship will only become stronger. The moon has a brilliant idea. She thought they should get to know her better. For this, she asked to stay here for a short time, and promised that they would not regret it. She says that the story will be long, and in the end, they will all know her in a new way. Time passed. The girls learned about her life without rumors and everything else. I don't understand how she went through all this, and they thanked her for deciding to be sincere with them. Then each told a little about herself. They became close, although this was literally the first meeting. Then the girl asked Katarina to go away with her for a while, to tell her how glad she was to have found such a wonderful friend, with whom you can be real, not think, so as not to say something unnecessary. Just be yourself. And these words really touched Katarina. She is very happy to hear this. She says that it is absolutely mutual. They had already returned to the table, and in the meantime, no one noticed how the atmosphere of the party had become much better. The two of them were not there. They were talking about the reading that would take place next month and suggested going there together. The girl thanked him for the invitation, but did not promise anything because her life is too unpredictable and she cannot plan anything in advance. Meanwhile, everyone said goodbye, went about their business, and were satisfied. The lady thanked everyone who helped organize the party and promised a reward for it. Flora has already met with Sarah and told her what happened. The lady tried to support her, but she doesn't even know how to solve this problem. In the end, they both came to the conclusion that they had a common enemy. Flora thought that if things were going to work out like this, they could unite and take revenge on the moon. Lady Sarah didn't even think about it. She wasn't used to solving her problems like that, especially since they had already solved everything with the moon and no one was bothering each other. The girl said that she was not interested. Flora got offended and went home in tears. Sarah was very busy and still didn't understand why Flora decided to come to her. They aren't even close friends. She doesn't want to help those who constantly need to take revenge on someone. She's not that kind of person at all. The girl received a letter from the Duke, or rather, it was sent by his assistants so that the girl would know that he was in a very bad situation right now. She wants to come to him, to support him, but she remembered how everything turned out last time. Then she saw that he didn't have any feelings for her, and if that was the case, then she didn't need a guy like that. She thought that she could only do one thing on her own, come to the duchy and finally make sure whether there was still something between them or whether they were already strangers. An hour later, she was already at his house. They took her to his office. The girl knew he wasn't in the best condition, but she didn't think it was that bad. Everything is scattered around the office. Even a vase of flowers is lying around. Apparently, the same mess is in the office is going on in his head. The guy apologized for not contacting her all this time and said that he just didn't want to upset her. He looks very unwell. He obviously didn't sleep well. Sarah didn't come to make peace with him, but she didn't notice how everything happened by itself. He says that his days are going terribly, and she immediately asks him to go to the bedroom. The guy says everything is fine. He feels better than he looks, and then he told her that he already had a plan to destroy the Baron's family, and he looked into her eyes very happily. This could mean that since they are on the same page, their relationship can be saved. The girl is happy. She agrees to support him in everything and is sure that they will be happy with him later. They started going over the plan together. She made a few changes and said he would be fine. A lawyer arrived at the Moon's estate and was met by the maids who asked how they could help. He hasn't returned home here, and this time he needs to give something to Lady Moon. He said that he would go to her office himself. He didn't want to distract those maids. They were laughing very loudly about something. Even the lawyer noticed the strange atmosphere, which means the girl didn't imagine it then. Luna felt it, went out into the corridor. She was very happy to see the lawyer. It just so happened that she was free. The job she gave him was done, and he was here to report. The Rocky Mountains on the other side of the continent that she had bet so much on last time were now officially her property. They also selected a few good mining companies, and she can read the rest in the report. Luna thought that she downloads it very often and a lot, and is already thinking of pleasing him with bonuses. The girl can't get enough of the fact that the best specialists are working with her. He always makes her happy, does his job wonderfully, and has never disappointed her. Gold mining is in full swing. There is no need to worry about money as mining actively continues. Thanks to rumors, the value of gold ore from the mountains in the possession of Pales only increases. The moon can't get enough of its condition. It is so rich that it doesn't even know how much. She's been happier than ever lately. Business is going well and she's made great friends. However, there is something that worries her, despite the fact that everything is going well. Even before she officially learned about the diamond mines, Luna sent a letter to Tyne. Among all the colleagues she worked with in the mines, she would like to recommend a trustworthy and talented person. Just a couple of days later, a reply arrived from Tyne. He looked at the workers' resumes and worked hard every day. The only problem is finding time for this mountain of documents. At the same time, Katarina very often comes without warning, distracts her. It's great, but now is very bad time. My friend wanted to chat so much that she ran to her right after class, and Luna didn't say a word about how busy she was. She gladly accepted her, offered her tea, and was ready to devote as much time to her as needed. Katarina has great news. She finally received an invitation to the coming-of-age celebration. Coming-of-age party, a day when children of nobles celebrate turning 18, an annual celebration hosted by the royal family. Many nobles of the same age gather together, which is a great opportunity to establish connections in high society for the future, to become part of the noble society. This is the most important ceremonial rite. All young girls are looking forward to this day. The moon wants to give her some dress in this honor. Luna didn't even think about it, but Katarina invites her to go to the party together. She heard that Luna missed her coming-of-age party, so she insists on making it up somehow. The girl is very worried because she didn't receive an invitation, and Katarina says that there is no problem. She can pass if she calls herself her companion. She literally begs her friend, wants to be there with her, and if the moon refuses, she will be very upset. Of course, the girl couldn't refuse her. They took each other's hands and agreed to go there together. The moon canceled all her plans, made Katarina happy. She became the happiest in the world. The girl says that it might be better to go to the coming-of-age ceremony with her best friend and celebrate this day properly. Now they are discussing outfits for the party, and it will last for at least a few hours. A friend brought a catalog from her designer. You can choose any dress. Each of them is from a new collection. Katarina really wants to choose paired outfits. She loves all this, but Luna is not used to this. She suggests adding at least a couple of differences so as not to be completely identical. Meanwhile, Ante is talking to his assistant about this very thing. He came to tell that the lady was going to attend a coming-of-age party today, but the strange thing is that her companion has not yet been announced. The peculiarity of the event is that they won't let her in from the satellite, and he, as a brother, thought that she had problems with this. He didn't say anything, but the assistant understood that even though they had a bad relationship, the brother would definitely help his sister. Evening has come. Guests are already gathering on the territory, all in beautiful outfits. The carriage of the Marquis Vincent arrived in the carriage of Lady Catherine. Everyone can't wait to see who has become her companion. People expect to see a nice guy. But from this carriage comes out the moon, which with its appearance literally created complete silence around. She smiles, looks at the aristocrats, and understands how they did not expect to see her. After her, Katarina came out. They found themselves in the center of attention and tried not to show that they were a little awkward. All those who usually envy admire how they thought of combining dresses into one look, and now their friends have captured all the attention in a matter of seconds. They are already checking the invitations. Luna is nervous. She is so worried that her hands are already shaking. The girls quickly pass the check. Katarina did not expect that it would be so beautiful here, and her friend even more so. And here is a huge hall. The royal banquet is organized at the highest level. They walk calmly and look at everything around them, and they are stopped and complimented. They wanted to meet her companion, and Luna happily introduced herself and said that she was glad to meet them. It was very nice to talk to them. So far, they haven't met a single unpleasant person. Another carriage was approaching the entrance. This man was afraid that he might be late. Apparently, he decided to support his sister after all, and doesn't know that it wasn't necessary. The guy saw Katarina's carriage, thought to see her nearby, but found out that the girl was already inside, which meant that there was someone with her. Ante started heading inside right away. He even managed to pass the invitation check. The boy is looking for his sister, but he is stopped by Flora, who is also here. She knows for sure that he is not on the invitation list. She yells at him and asks how dare he disrupt the order of the event. He decided to deal with her as best he could, using his charisma and charm. After that, she stopped behaving like that, calmed down, and he immediately left. Then the girl thought that she shouldn't give in to his beauty and started to think of something. Luna met new people and did not regret that she agreed to come here. She feels very comfortable. The girl is glad that everything turned out this way. She was relaxed, didn't suspect anything, and then an Anthe's appeared, which no one was expecting. She thought she had confused him with someone else. She looked closer, and it really was him. He says he was just passing by and acts as if nothing unusual is happening. Katarina stands aside and can't believe her eyes. She sees them together for the first time, even though she knew they were dating. Antes and his sister are in a terrible relationship. They hate each other, so the girl is not happy to see him. She asked him to leave and said that her companion today was the moon. So he has nothing to do here. Katarina said that she doesn't want to see him on such a beautiful day. So they found themselves in the spotlight. Rumors started to spread. People started to notice that it was usually accepted to come with a couple of the opposite sex. But Katarina came with a friend, and that wasn't quite right. Antes thought to fix everything, grabbed the moon, and then invited her to a dance that was about to begin. He took revenge on his sister for the way she reacted to him, and her other friends began to calm her down. Luna feels very awkward. She did nothing wrong, but still something is wrong. She is afraid that her friend might be offended by her, although she saw that her brother did everything himself. At the same time, she really likes how Antes behaves with her. The girl could not even dream of dancing with such a wonderful person. She can already imagine how people envy her. From the outside, they look simply mesmerizing. The guy is spinning her around in a dance, and she is in two states of mind, joy and awkwardness in front of Katarina. She doesn't know what will come out of this. She wants to see that her friend will understand everything and that this will not affect their friendship in any way. They are in the very center of the hall. Annie's asked her not to think about anything bad. Everything will end quickly, and they should enjoy this moment to the maximum. Luna said that Katarina couldn't post her own party without a partner, so she asked her to do it. And also that they became very good friends. But Ante still asked not to get too close to her and also said that he knows what he is talking about. The girl didn't pay attention to it. She thought that he just hated his sister. That's what he said. She asked to talk about something else because she doesn't want to hear how bad Katarina is. Out of the blue, Ante said that he wanted to see her every day and dance the same dance in the evenings as he was doing now. It was very romantic. Luna replied that she would be happy to see him more often. But lately there has been a lot of work and she does not understand how to combine all this. All hope is on the secretary. She has never dumped all the work on him before. Anyway, it's his job and nothing will happen if she allows herself to relax one evening. Luna suggests going out for some fresh air. She is embarrassed by all these people, but he doesn't mind. She asked him about it for a reason. She wants to say something and not let anyone hear it. Luna will happily continue to communicate with him, but she wants to end this fake relationship. You need to make the separation as natural as possible, and when Antes tries to answer something, he immediately gets a lump in his throat. He didn't think that everything would come to such a serious point. It's hard for him to think about it, and he really doesn't want to. The guy said that he didn't want to break up, but if it was important to her and she had someone, then he wouldn't interfere with her. Just as the serious conversation began, Katarina bursts in. She had just been looking for her all over the room. She is very angry that her brother is ruining everything and doesn't know what to do about it anymore. The girl thought she had some problems, started to defend herself, but the moon calmed her down and said that everything was fine. Katarina looks at Antes with hatred. He is already used to it and does not react in any way. She wants to take the moon with her. She invited her here and thinks that it's time for some people to go home and not ruin everyone's evening. Luna asked her friend to give them a couple more minutes and promised that she would be with her only for the rest of the evening. Antes thought that they could discuss everything later, but he did as his sister wanted and left them alone. Katarina first thought it was a joke and started to leave with her friend quickly so that he wouldn't ruin anything again. She grabbed her hand so tightly that the moon was afraid that her friend would suddenly take out all her anger on her. Katarina explained why she treats her brother this way once he left the mansion and refused to return to the family. They used to be very close to him, but after such a betrayal, she doesn't want to know him and will never call this man her brother again. She is very angry when reminded of this. The moon urgently needs to come up with something and calm her down. If nothing is done, the holiday will be ruined. Gradually, the girls started to have fun, returned to their friends, and apologized for being absent for so long. Luna finally saw a smile on her face and thought that maybe now she could really relax. They have experienced so many emotions and now nothing will make them nervous again. Antes looks at them from the side, watching the moon as if he really worries that his sister might harm her. An assistant came up to him, showed him a letter and said that Sayuri had asked him to give it to her. He asked me to tell her that he didn't want to see her. She found out about it and was very indignant. She doesn't like that such a handsome guy has something against her. It was a shame that Antes didn't even read her letter. Meanwhile, suddenly the moon came up to him and said that there was another important conversation. It was necessary to discuss it very quickly before his sister noticed anything. The guy thought she wanted to dance with him, but it was much more serious. She understands that it will sound strange, but if he doesn't mind, she would like to continue this relationship and forget everything that she told him recently. The girl insists on it as if something happened. She just realized that when people started seeing her with him, they stopped spreading rumors about her. Because they are afraid that he might stand up for her, she doesn't like to admit it. In this relationship, she needs benefits and she is not afraid to talk about it because that's how it is. So if he is happy with everything, she would like to continue this fictitious relationship. And when she said that it was to his advantage to agree to this for the same reason, Antes laughed and said that he was very glad that she was so worried about him, but he didn't care what others said about him. Then he made sure that he understood her correctly and asked if she really wanted to continue the relationship, just so that people wouldn't start discussing it again and spreading gossip. She told him that he understood everything correctly, and Antes smiled and replied that so be it, he would remain her fictitious boyfriend for a while longer. Meanwhile, someone asked for silence in the hall. Apparently, something important is about to happen. His Highness, the Crown Prince of the Empire, Kallian Atlan, has arrived. The moon had never seen him before. It was interesting to look at him. She greeted him along with everyone else. The guy is incredibly handsome, as befits a prince, but in her opinion, Antes looks much better. After the Crown Prince's short speech, the names of the nobles who had come of age were pronounced one after another, and the Crown Prince personally pinned a brooch to each of them. Congratulations to the new members of the noble society. One of them is Katarina, who has been waiting for this moment for a long time, and finally her turn has come. It was time to go home. The moon looked for her friend for a long time, went outside when suddenly she heard her voice. The girl again argues with her brother that she came with her and should leave with her in the same carriage. And Antes insists on accompanying her personally to her house. It will be safer that way. Luna has no idea how to deal with this chaos. She grabs her head and understands that this will take a long time. She tells them that they need to calm down. She was going to go back alone anyway and won't bother anyone. The guy said that he was going to talk to her about precious stones. Luna immediately thought of leaving here with him, because if it comes to business, she is ready to discuss it at any time of the day. In that case, the friend also wanted to go with them and even asked to stay at her friend's for the night. Luna understands that if these two people are in the same carriage with her, she simply won't be able to stand it. She couldn't refuse anyone. They traveled half the way with the guy, and the rest of the way they were already without him. Katarina apologized for her brother constantly ruining everything. Luna replied that everything was fine because she just didn't want to discuss the topic. Then they noticed that there was no guard at the gate. An assistant quickly ran up to them and apologized for what had happened. He explained that the guard had gone home, and he had a good reason for it. Only now, all the workers live on the territory of the mansion, and all this begins to look very strange. The friend also didn't understand why the butler didn't tell his mistress about this. Now they'll figure everything out. While Katarina went into the room, the girl went to talk to the butler. She called him into the living room and asked him to explain the situation from beginning to end. The girl asked her friend to wait in the room, but she was so worried that she couldn't sit still. She went out into the hallway to eavesdrop when suddenly, as if out of nowhere, her brother appeared. But could it be that he had been following them and had secretly entered the house? She was very scared of him and could hardly stop herself from screaming. They started arguing and missed something interesting. The moon is already yelling at the butler because he forgot who is the boss in this house. The butler took the liberty of distributing the servants' duties at his own discretion and did not tell her anything about it. He thinks that it is his job to take care of the servants and that she worries about it too much. The girl doesn't understand how he dares to talk to her like that, because if she doesn't like something, it should be corrected. She told him that this was her house, and if this situation happened again, he would be fired. She is the one creating new rules here, and it is he who must get used to the new mistress, and not the other way around. Then he went about his business, without saying a single word that he was guilty. Meanwhile, these two are eavesdropping and think that no one is watching them. The moon pretended not to notice anything and suggested having dinner because there was no time for food at the banquet. The cooks prepared several appetizers. A pie, various cuts, and more already appeared on the table. An hour later, Katarina can't bring herself to sleep. She falls asleep right at the table. Luna suggests they break up, but her friend refuses, supposedly wanting to try another piece of pie. She had said this several times already. Luna did not stay with her, asked the assistant to take the guest to the room when she wanted it herself. Ante is very ashamed of his sister. He apologized for her, and Luna is so tired that she doesn't care anymore. By some miracle, I was able to take Katarina to bed. Ante's persuaded Luna to stay. They didn't finish the conversation that time, and he doesn't seem to see that she has other things to do now. The guy says that he doesn't want to sleep and that he will spend the whole night at this table. Luna is a very kind person. She did not leave him here and kept him company. She thought about how to make him tired, but she has no ideas yet. The night passed incomprehensibly. The next day, early morning, it was time to say goodbye. The friend really didn't want to leave, but she has some things to do, and now she approaches the carriage in tears. She doesn't want to leave her friend so much. Everyone left. The girl was left home alone. The butler brought her some kind of report, but she didn't ask for it. Luna wanted to rest after yesterday's hard day and night, but the butler is wasting her time again. This is the most common list of food that needs to be bought for the kitchen, and she just has to approve and make changes if necessary. This time she said that she trusted him completely and asked him not to disturb her for the next half day. Luna fell on the bed with great pleasure. She closed her eyes. This is what she had been dreaming about since yesterday evening. The girl had a good night's sleep. She appreciated the big soft bed and woke up in a great mood. The butler bothers her again. He comes and seems to ask her questions on purpose, which could have been resolved without her. For example, now he said that he was going to buy groceries because he couldn't do it before. Luna begins to be unhappy with him. She even asked her assistant if she was the only one who saw him as some kind of robot who comes up and comments on his every action. So much time had passed and Antes had not yet left the room. Luna thought to come to him and check if everything was okay. It's almost evening and they still haven't had breakfast. Before that, she quickly ran into the kitchen to get something to eat and saw that Emma is washing the dishes, but she shouldn't be doing it. This is happening while others are laughing and doing nothing. The lady came to them and asked what was going on, why someone was working while the rest were resting. Emma asked how she could help, to which the girl replied that the woman was supposed to be making breakfast, but she was washing the dishes and that shouldn't be happening. Emma said she just wanted to help, but Luna knows perfectly well that she just can't tell the truth. The woman promised to make chicken soup and cornbread quickly and apologized for not having time to do it sooner. Luna realized that she was starting to take advantage of Emma's kindness. The girl would definitely come up with something, but not now. The lady is already at the table. She asked Lola to come over to ask her something. She reminded that Emma washed a whole mountain of dishes, but no one helped her, and she wants to know the real reason why this happened. Lola had difficulty speaking. It was obvious that she was also a victim of bullying. This is exactly what the girl wanted to find out. The lady immediately called Joanna to her, the one who seemed most suspicious to her. She asked her to explain why they were all standing and resting while Emma was washing the dishes when she should have been making breakfast. The assistant starts to fall to the floor, apologizes but doesn't explain anything. Luna is not going to forgive her. She says that it is too early for her to start apologizing. It won't help anyway. Joanna couldn't resist and admitted that it all started on the day when Luna arrived at the mansion. The butler didn't like the new mistress right away. Since he couldn't do anything to her personally, he started to bully Lola and Emma. He made them do the dirtiest work. He even punished Emma's cooking and ordered not to serve it to the table when everyone was hungry. Lola was being bullied more harshly all this time. She was forced to carry luggage, plant trees, repair external walls. She endured all this and never complained because she was afraid. The other maids have no choice. They could protect them, but the butler is strict and always has the right to fire someone. There is an opinion among the servants that the master of this house is the butler, not the mistress. Luna found out about this and immediately ordered to gather all the people of the mansion for a meeting. The butler doesn't suspect anything and will now answer for everything he did. He asks what happened and hints that the girl interrupted the work of a huge number of maids, as if scolding her for this. The moon didn't answer anything. She silently hit him in the face and made it clear that if she does something, then it's necessary. She is so angry at him that it is impossible to describe in words. The butler has become boring to her and finally got what he deserved. He doesn't understand what's going on, and she hits him again and again so that it won't be enough. The lady hinted that he should understand the reason, and also he should understand that this is his last working day. He says that he tried to work as best he could, but she doesn't appreciate it and beats him for no reason. At that moment, he realized that she already knew everything, fell to the floor and began to beg her to forgive him. What she doesn't like most is that he looks down on her and thinks that she will forgive him for it. She repeated again that she is the mistress here, and he is an ordinary butler who must open the doors to the house and greet guests. Luna thought about hitting him again. He irritates her so much, but at the very last moment, Lola stops her. She asks the lady not to do this. The assistant understands that she should not protect that person, but she is too kind and could not do otherwise. Hitting the butler didn't work. Instead, she fired him and all the other servants who obeyed his orders, except for Lola and Emma. One of them started to get indignant because they were just afraid of losing their job. But in the end, they lost it anyway. He thinks it's unfair that she needs to solve this problem differently. Luna replied that everything was correct. They were just following the butler's orders, so let him return them to work if he could. They will be able to get their salary from him too. He is their boss, not her. That was the end of it. Many servants hated her, and the girl calmly went to her room and ordered them to leave the estate within a minute. At this point, the butler rises to his feet and begins to grab her hand, insisting that she not be so cruel. He says he did nothing to deserve being fired and presses on her hand so hard that it hurts her a lot. The girl didn't have time to do anything, when suddenly Ante appears and punishes everyone who dared to approach his girl. After that, he reminded that in a minute there should be no one here except the moon, himself, and 2 assistants. After some time, the butler came to the Vincent family to ask them to help him get his job back. He told how the girl fired him and all the other servants, but without details, so that there would be more chances that they would help him. They are already sitting at the table. Makers learned that Luna unfairly fired the entire staff, although he finds it hard to believe. A man tells how he was thrown out without being paid everything he earned, and if they don't help him, he will be on the street for the rest of the days. The Marquis's wife saw the butler's face turn red and asked if the moon had done that to him too. He said that she personally slapped him and did it several times. Then they noticed that his suit was wrinkled, but the man didn't say anything about it so as not to disappoint these people about their son. Then he decided that since he was already here, they should know who really did all this to him. He said it was because of their son and apologized that they heard it. The Marquis said that he did not doubt his words at all, but his son could not have done it just like that, without a reason. The former butler is ready to invite other witnesses to confirm his words. Meanwhile, Katarina comes to them. She heard some noise and came to check what was going on. She was surprised that this man had come to them. He greeted her and tensed up because he knew that the moon was her friend. He told her how unfairly his new mistress had treated him, and also that her brother had attacked him. The girl understood from the first second that he was deceiving her parents. She told them that this man initially hated the moon, and since she kicked him out of work, he deserved it and did a lot of bad things. She just made her parents believe her because she knows this girl and is sure that such a kind person could not be rude to someone just like that. Believed his daughter and asked the butler to leave and deal with his problems on his own. The Marquis promised to talk to the moon, but only because he had known the butler for many years. He doesn't promise to return him to work, but he can sort out the situation. Meanwhile, Luna is already having breakfast with Ante. She is very embarrassed that everything turned out this way. The guy seemed to have forgotten what had just happened and had been looking at her with this look for 5 minutes now. She doesn't understand what's wrong with him, what he saw in her that he hadn't seen before. She can't have a peaceful breakfast. He laughs and creates an awkward atmosphere. The girl joked that she could kick him out just like the butler, but it didn't help. He keeps changing the subject, charming her with his gaze and doing it on purpose. The guy put some kind of box on the table. He said that it was a gift for her. It looks beautiful, and when he opened the box, he saw something even more beautiful. It looks like a wine cup. It's made of gold, but she doesn't understand what it means. In fact, it is a special cup. He said that he made it from the gold ore of their enterprise. It was the first piece of gold and the employee of the payroll. It's a very meaningful gift. She promised to put it somewhere in the room. Ante wants to see her drink the drink from this gift, and she replied that it is impossible. The cup is too expensive for her, and in the meantime, Luna remembered about work and decided to go to the office. Ante suggested going to the recruitment agency. She thanked him for it because it was much more important than what she was going to do. The guy said that he really likes it when there is almost no one in the house. He even suggested taking his time and enjoying the silence for a few days. She told him that it was impossible because you couldn't predict when someone would need help. Ante suggested preparing the carriage, and the girl would take some things with her for now. The guy doesn't hide the fact that he constantly stalks her. He even said that he got used to it. He forgot the last time he did his own thing, and in general when he was at home. It came to him that he had been here for almost a week, and before that, he had spent the night at her parents' house. This was too much. It's so hard for him to live a day without her that he has to be so impudent. He's especially ashamed of spending several nights at her parents'. Ante's decided to think about it later. The girl is already calling him because he needs to hurry. The street turned out to be more crowded than she thought. They hadn't even managed to walk half the street and were already tired. Someone nearby is shouting loudly that his mother is sick and he urgently needs money. This man begs to sell him some medicine for free, and when he gets money, he will give twice as much. The seller refused him. People pass by as if they can't help with a few coins. That man is already sitting on his knees and begging to give him at least something. He is even ready to work for pennies just to survive. He was denied both medicine and work. The moon heard this just in time and could not pass by. The girl approached the man, asked his name, and extended her hand to help him up. It turns out it was a woman, and they went into some office with her to discuss her problem. Her mother needs to take medication regularly because of a chronic illness, but they earn money by sewing and washing dishes, which does not bring in much money. She says that she is willing to even work hard just to earn a little more so that she can afford medicine. The moon thought she could hire her to drive the carriage. She just needed a coachman, and a woman is just the kind of person who knows how to do that. The lady wanted to hire Ina and asked one of them to prepare a contract. The woman may not worry about her salary. They haven't really discussed it, but the moon certainly won't offend her. Ina couldn't help herself. She started talking about it and asked what their salary would be. Luna replied that she would give her 5,000 gold every month, and there would also be various bonuses and increases for good work. The girl warned that they had a mandatory condition. They needed to get along well with other servants and be on good terms with the mistress. Everyone was satisfied with everything. Work with documents began. The girl asked to create an ad for other jobs with the same conditions. She was warned that there would be a lot of applications. Such salaries would interest every passerby. Literally 5 minutes later, a lot of people came. They knocked on the door and asked to look at all the resumes. Some have already managed to quarrel while standing in line. Everyone really wants to get a job. Some people are ready to quit if only the moon would accept them. The man tries to sort things out with everyone and suggests that they approach him one by one. He promised to pay attention to each of them, and in the meantime, passers-by look at this and do not understand what all the fuss is about. People started to come together more actively. Some don't even have resumes with them. And some saw the amount that the girl promised to pay every month and did not believe that this was possible. Half of the people left thinking that it was all a lie, and some stayed and thought that the moon is not the kind of person who would deceive anyone. Luna believes that she will select the best staff and that there will not be anyone in her house that she will want to fire quickly. A new rumor about a person named Luna quickly spread among ordinary people. It is discussed literally on every corner. And soon the rumor that more and more people wanted to work for the Baron's family reached the ears of the nobles. People found out that this family no longer had any problems. They became rich, so much so that this figure is hard to even imagine. At every event, aristocrats mention their name, and some have already begun to envy. The Duke also learned this news. He is literally torn apart from the inside by the fact that the moon is happy without him. He beats and destroys everything in his path, almost never leaves his office, and no longer knows how to ruin her life. All he does is ask his assistant to come up with a way to get revenge on her for how she treated him. The man is already so tired of this that he himself is thinking about going over to the side of the moon. It became unbearable to live in the same house with this person. He constantly throws something and does not control himself. This time the assistant says that he has no more ideas, but the gentleman doesn't want to hear it. He yells at him, asks him to make the moon regret leaving him and bringing him to such a state. The Duke said he would not calm down until she personally apologized to him and admitted that she was wrong. He reads another piece of news, grabs his head, and can no longer stand the fact that everyone around him is fine, only he is suffering. Sarah came to him. She supports him to this day and comes several times a day. The girl felt that he was feeling bad and suggested that they think about how to take revenge on the enemy together. She already has a new plan, and she is happy to tell you about each point. She wants those who dared to go against them to be punished as they deserve. Sarah put a lot of documents on his desk, and among them is the very plan that she made that night. The girl is sure he will like everything. She started to smile and wait for him to praise her. But nothing like that happened. The Duke just took it all in his hands and slowly read each line. He liked the plan so much that his hands were already shaking. He wanted to get down to business so quickly. Only now he realized how much she does for him and finally said that he is very grateful to her for this. And also that she is the only reliable person in this world that he has left. The guy kissed her hand and promised that soon they would be happy together. This is exactly what she wanted to hear from him. Sarah did not regret that she came to him that day, and from that moment on, she was always there. They want to make sure that all merchants who do business with the Antares Guild break off their deal with Luna. The guy can't hold on anymore. He wants to make sure the girl remains isolated from the Empire, for her family to go broke, and for them all to be left on the street. And Sarah says it's just a matter of time. The girl holds his hand and imagines that just a little more, and everything will be fine for them. The Duke decided that he needed to have a good rest before that. He was too tired to start doing important things right now. He looks at his beloved and feels how the energy he missed so much is returning to him.